the Interstellar Mecha cook. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 751, Mother-Daughter Conflict. Zhangyang star is small, only 1/3 the size of Xiangyu star. It's a small planet, but with a small permanent population, it feels spacious, especially for the Yi family, the planet's owners. Because of this, the Yi family's houses are low, each resembling a 3-story Western-style building. There are 4 of them, surrounded by a large courtyard. Each building is surrounded by numerous trees, with only a 2-meter wide path connecting the 4 buildings arranged in a triangle. In the center of the triangle is the main building, the largest of the 4, covering a full 400 square meters. The first floor houses the living room, dining room, and kitchen, the second floor houses the study and gym, and the third floor houses Yi's parents' bedrooms. Indeed, only Yi's parents live in the main building. Yi Hongwen and Yi Hongying live separately in a separate building. Lin Miaomiao muttered this the first time she arrived on Zhangyang star. Even if the family had so much space, there was no need for separate buildings. The Yi siblings each lived in their own building. It wasn't a big deal when they were older, but they weren't afraid when they were younger. Lin Miaomiao had once curiously asked Yi Hongwen this question, and the answer she got was, "I'm not afraid. I'm not a girl." Men don't know the word fear. She asked Yi Hongying again, and the answer she got was different. "No, we had a nanny and a smart butler to keep us company when we were little." Lin Miaomiao's eyes rolled, as if she had discovered something remarkable. Yi Hongwen, who claimed to be a man, probably didn't live alone in a building when he was little. Tentatively asking her sister-in-law, Yi Hongying was surprised. "My brother and I were moved to a separate building when we turned 5. We were so young, how could we live alone? Of course, we needed someone to keep us company. Actually, it would be better to live in the main building than to have a nanny. It's a pity that Dad wouldn't let us live there. He insisted on sending my brother and me to another building. He would rather pay for a nanny to keep us company than let us stay in the main building, especially when he was home." Even though she was already 16 years old, Yi Hongying still couldn't let go of the resentment in her heart. It was not like she had no place to live, so what was the point of forcing them to live alone? Lin Miaomiao somewhat understood what her father-in-law meant. He probably wanted to have a private space with Mother Yi and didn't want his children to disturb their world of 2. To be honest, Lin Miaomiao didn't approve of his father-in-law's approach. The child his wife gave birth to after 10 months of pregnancy was the fruit of their love. Even if he wanted a world of 2, he could at least clean up the second floor for the child to live in. Especially since her father-in-law was away from home all year round, her mother-in-law lived alone in the main building. The loneliness can be imagined. "That's why I'm not used to living here," Lin Miaomiao sighed. "Living in a building alone sounds lonely, and even with a nanny it doesn't change anything." "Sister-in-law is right. I told my father the same thing," Yi Hongying said regretfully. "It's a pity that he is too stubborn." Lin Miaomiao was curious. Didn't her father-in-law encounter any objection from her mother-in-law when he did this? Or did her mother-in-law also dislike her children invading their space? The answer soon emerged, as Yi's mother, speaking of this, was filled with bitterness. "Of course I want to raise these children I worked so hard to give birth to, but that old bastard Yi Zhangyang won't let me. He insists they live alone." Yi Zhangyang, however, was stubborn and refused to budge. Mother Yi was furious, ready to divorce him, but there was nothing she could do. Father Yi felt the 2 brats would usurp his position. In fact, as soon as their son turned 2, Yi Zhangyang had been planning to move him out of the main building and place him in the care of a nanny, cultivating his independence from an early age so he wouldn't constantly cling to his mother. But Mother Yi wasn't to be trifled with. When Father Yi was home, she would let her son stay in her own small building for a few days, only to return him to the main building the moment he left. Even when Father Yi was upset, she didn't bother to respond. Mother Yi said, "Men shouldn't be spoiled. The more you spoil them, the more they become." These memories were bittersweet for the Yi siblings and their mother, but Lin Miaomiao found them amusing. Father Yi's possessiveness was truly extraordinary. After being happy, She became worried again. Having never lived alone in a building, Lin Miaomiao was very nervous at the thought of living alone, so she asked her sister-in-law, "How about I live in the same building with you?" Ye Hongying was very happy to agree. When she was 10 years old, the nanny moved to the 4th small building to live with the other servants. Only the robot butler was still with her. She was not afraid, but she was very bored. The robot butler could take care of the owner's daily life very well, but it could not have a pleasant chat with the owner, which made Ye Hongying feel very lonely. Brother must feel lonely too, otherwise he would not become so cold, Ye Hongying said confidently. Lin Miaomiao felt funny. "You have lived alone for a few years, why don't you become like your brother? That's different." Ye Hongying puffed out her chest and said rather proudly, "I am stronger than my brother and can withstand the test of loneliness." But Ye's mother came to spoil the show. "You girl just like to talk nonsense. Your brother hasn't lived in the main building since he was 10 years old, but you just stay in the main building whenever you get the chance, especially when your dad is not at home for a long time. You are about to move back to the main building." Ye Hongying stuck out her tongue and made a face at her mother. It was too much for her to even give her some face in front of her sister-in-law. Even more outrageous was yet to come. Mother Ye refused to allow her daughter-in-law to live in her daughter's small apartment, insisting that she live in the main building. "I've had Heok clean up the study and separate it with a curtain into a bedroom. You can live there." Before Lin Miaomiao could say anything, Ye Hongying protested, "Mom, you're going too far. Not only do you say bad things about me, but you also won't let my sister-in-law live with me." Mother Ye said with a half-smile, "Do you know how to take care of a pregnant woman? Do you have time to take care of your sister-in-law?" Ye Hongying was completely devastated. She was only 16 years old and a busy senior in high school. Of course, she didn't know how to care for a pregnant woman, not even the time to learn. In that instant, Ye Miaomiao took 10,000 points of damage from her mother and completely collapsed. Lin Miaomiao couldn't bear to watch and offered her support. "Actually, I can take care of myself." "If that doesn't work, Yinger still has the smart housekeeper." Ye Hongying's eyes lit up. After all, her sister-in-law was the best. She was on her side, and she looked at her mother expectantly. "No," Mother Ye rejected it without hesitation. "Your pregnancy is your first, and it's not even 3 months old yet. I have to take care of you personally. A smart butler is not as reliable as an elder." After finally seeing hope, it was extinguished again. Ye Hongying pouted. "Milk is very reliable. It's a smart butler specifically designed to take care of pregnant women and babies." Mother Ye was too lazy to say more. "I said no, and it's no. Your sister-in-law must live in the main building. No discussion." Chapter 752, Ye Family Friends and Relatives Visit. Lin Miaomiao still moved into the study in the main building. Of course, Heok, the smart housekeeper of the main building, had already tidied up her bedroom. Although it was separated from the study, the room was very large. It contained a 3-meter wide purple shell soft bed. The bed sheets and quilt covers were also purple with small white floral patterns. The curtains separating the study were made of purple velvet. The floor was covered with a purple blanket. There was also a purple fabric sofa, a purple floor-standing tatami, and even the wardrobe and shoe rack were purple. Although the room was in purple, it did not feel monotonous because the light and dark colors were very harmonious. For example, the curtains were dark purple, which could effectively block the sunlight. The sofa was also dark purple, which was more resistant to dirt. The bed sheets and quilt covers and tatami were light purple. "Does it look good?" Mother Ye asked with a smile. Ye Hongying pouted, "It doesn't look good. Doesn't my sister-in-law like white? Why did she decorate her room in purple?" Ye's mother's expression changed instantly. "I'm not asking you. Go back to your room and do your homework." After a disagreement, Ye Hongying was chased away. Pouting, she reluctantly walked away, looking back every few steps. Lin Miaomiao's heart softened again. Before she could plead, Ye's mother said, "Don't worry about that girl. She's always pretending to be pitiful. You should check the room to see if there's anything else that needs changing." Lin Miaomiao looked around and thought everything looked good. She liked white, but she liked purple even more. She had kept the Aox's shell silver white just to keep a low profile. These days, everyone thinks white is as pure as snow. Not only do people like to wear white clothes, but even mechas are painted silver white. It's said that this color is noble and elegant, so much so that more than half of the 100 mechas have silver white shells. Mother Ye knew she liked the color purple, which surprised Lin Miaomiao but also warmed her heart. It was wonderful to have such an understanding mother-in-law. Thinking of this, Lin Miaomiao sincerely said to Mother Yi, "I like it very much. Thank you for your trouble this time." "What are you talking about, child?" Mother Yi scolded. "We are family. Don't be so polite." "Okay, I understand," Lin Miaomiao nodded vigorously. Both mother-in-law and daughter-in-law were very satisfied, but only Xiaomai was dissatisfied. The next day at breakfast, Hongyin kept poking at the fried egg on her plate with her chopsticks, occasionally looking up and accusing her sister-in-law and mother with a resentful look. "You are all bad guys." Mother Yu was not surprised. She refused to give her resentful daughter a soothing look, let alone a soft word of comfort. She just lowered her head to eat breakfast. Lin Miaomiao was so irritated by the stare that she couldn't even sit still. She couldn't even enjoy her meal. She had done nothing wrong, so why did her sister-in-law look at her like that? Fortunately, Hongyin had to rush to school, and after breakfast, she was taken to school by Milk. As she left, she kept looking back, her face full of reluctance. After seeing off her reluctant sister-in-law, Lin Miaomiao breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that she could finally begin a leisurely life of pregnancy. However, she didn't expect her joy to be premature. When friends and relatives heard that the Star-Lord's daughter-in-law was pregnant and had returned to take care of the baby, they all came to visit the pregnant woman with small gifts. Aside from the Mecha pilots and their families recruited by the private fleet, the rest of the people on Zhangyang Star were either surnamed Yi or Gu. In any case, they had some connection to the Star-Lord's family. Even if that relationship was superficial, it could be considered a good one. The Star-Lord had only one son and one daughter. The daughter was still in high school, and the son was in his 40s before he got married and had children. This was a major event. No matter whether they were close relatives or distant relatives, they would feel guilty if they didn't come to visit. As a result, Lin Miaomiao was busy the day after arriving on Zhangyang Star. After welcoming a dozen or so relatives who came to visit and meeting dozens more cousins, Lin Miaomiao dazedly followed Mother Yi to continue recognizing her relatives. She could only mechanically greet the guests. "Hello, Uncle Can, long time no see, Aunt Lan, Uncle Mi, you've become more handsome." These people were too impatient and tactless, and there was no telling when these visits would end. Furious, Lin Miaomiao began to feel fortunate that she wouldn't be staying on Zhangyang Star for too long. If it were like this every day, she wouldn't be able to bear it. "Oh my! Miaomiao, how come you're so beautiful again?" Bai Lanho shouted exaggeratedly, pushing through the crowd to rush to Lin Miaomiao's side. Her rough hands grasped her slightly darkened hands, and she said with concern, "Why are you so tanned? You guys don't stand in the sun for training, do you?" The relatives and friends all rolled their eyes. Did their mother seem like country bumpkins? The fleet training had its own separate building, so how could they get tanned? But what is unexpected is that this is really the reason why Lin Miaomiao got tanned. She broke free from Bai Lanho's hand without leaving a trace, and said dizzily, "Cousin Lanho is right. There are many people on the border planet, and the training equipment is seriously insufficient. When there is no war, we have to train outdoors." "Oh, Uncle can suddenly realize, there is plenty of sunshine on the border planet, so it is normal to get tanned. But Hongwen is also amazing. The situation on the front line is tense, but he still has the energy to have babies. He is worthy of being a genius." Mecha Master Lin Miaomiao suddenly felt a toothache. Why did these words sound a little wrong, as if there was some deeper meaning? "Brother Can, what you said is not right," Mother Yi reacted quickly. "Miaomiao has been pregnant for nearly 2 months. She got pregnant before we went to the front. At that time, the couple had just received their marriage certificate. It's normal that they got pregnant in the excitement." Uncle Can chuckled. "What sister-in-law Yang said is true. I don't mean any other meaning. I just envy you that you will become a grandmother. Unlike me, my daughter-in-law didn't join the fleet, and my son is still struggling on the front line. I don't know when I will be able to bear fruit." Mother Yi snorted and didn't want to make any more arguments. People who are jealous of others' good lives are not worth caring about. Actually, Uncle Can, there's no need to be envious. If you want to have a grandson, wait until your son returns from the front and has made meritorious contributions, then take a few months off to have a baby, Lin Miaomiao suggested lukewarmly. Grandma had made it perfectly clear. How could she not understand Uncle Can's meaning? He was implying that Yu Hongwen was preoccupied with his romantic interests and neglecting the war on the front lines. It was like saying sour grapes when you can't have them, and accusing someone else of being pregnant when you can't have a grandson. Uncle Ken's face instantly flushed. He had just said something wrong, and being criticized by his younger siblings was one thing, but even the younger generation had the audacity to speak against him. It was simply outrageous. He immediately said with a stern face, "Sister-in-law Yang, as the eldest brother, there are some things I shouldn't say, but I feel guilty if I don't." Mother Yi immediately interjected, "Don't say things you shouldn't say. Conscience is something you have, but if you don't, there's nothing you can do about it. It all depends on self-cultivation." Uncle Ken's flushed face turned even redder. He was speechless. Chapter 753, Arranged Marriage. Uncle Ken, overcome with envy and resentment, was speechless and could only angrily walk out of the Yi family mansion. His brows were knitted together, his face still the color of liver, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes several millimeters deeper, and his thin, dark lips were pressed into a straight line. After he left, the previously quiet family and friends erupted in an uproar. Several young children made faces, mimicking Uncle Ken's expressions, while the adults lamented that the Star Lord's uncle was becoming increasingly out of character. Lin Miaomiao didn't intend to pay much attention. Uncle Ken was her father-in-law Yi Zhengyang's biological brother, named Yi Zhengken. He was only 2 years older than her father-in-law, but he looked 10 years older. Yi Zhengken had always been jealous of her father-in-law, and the reason all began with his mother-in-law. She had been raised in pampered care. Her grandfather, mindful of her great-grandfather's last words, sought a suitable young man from among the Yi family as a son-in-law, but Mother Yi, looking for him, refused to accept. It just so happened that the grandmother of the Yi Zhengken brothers passed away, and the brothers went home to attend the funeral. Mother Yi fell in love with his second brother, Yi Zhengyang, at first sight. After a strong conversation and exchanging contact numbers, the two got married the following year. This matter had nothing to do with Yi Zhengken, but he thought that his younger brother had stolen his marriage, and that Mother Yi should have been the one who had his eye on him in the first place, because his younger brother was too cold and insidious, and girls didn't like him at all. Lin Miaomiao didn't bother to ask about the grudges of the elders, but this Uncle Ken was really unpleasant. He even interfered with the affairs of his nephew and niece, and made false accusations. It would be better for her to have less contact with him in the future. Lin Miaomiao secretly complained about Uncle Ken's unreliability, and was a little troubled by the relatives and friends who filled the living room. The sound of their conversations was like that of a vegetable market. What made her even more amused was that her cousin Bai Lanho came over again and said she wanted to arrange a child marriage. Bai Lanho tugged at Lin Miaomiao's hand, beaming with joy as she praised her grandson. "My little Chi could roll over at 4 months, crawl at 5, walk at 8, speak fluently at 1 year old, and recite poetry before he was 2. He's sure to be something great, really," Lin Miaomiao replied perfunctorily. "He's quite clever. With proper training, he'll make a significant contribution to the Federation. Of course, my grandson will be great," Bai Lanho said, as if she could already envision him growing up and ascending to the rank of marshal. Ever since Yi Zhengyang became the captain of the Azure Dragon, the people of Zhangyang Star no longer value that position, instead assigning his children and grandchildren the more prestigious rank of marshal. Everyone was thinking, how poor were Yi Zhengyang's family in the past? Without the support of the old Star Master, how could they have afforded so many children, let alone the thought of them going to college and joining the fleet as captain? Even Yi Zhengyang could sit on the position of captain of the King Long. His own child has been smart since he was young. If he is well trained, he may become a marshal. Of course, in order to make the child less hardworking, it is necessary to find him a good in-law. No, Bai Lanho came to visit after hearing that the daughter-in-law of the Star Lord was pregnant and came back to take care of the baby. After Lin Miaomiao knew her purpose, she sighed at first. It's pitiful for the elders in the world. Her grandson is not even 2 years old, and her cousin Lanho is jumping around to find a good in-law for him. She even wants to arrange a marriage when she doesn't know whether she is pregnant or not. After sighing, Lin Miaomiao politely rejected Bai Lanho. The child is not born yet, and we don't know whether it is a boy or a girl. Not to mention that no one can predict what he will look like and what his temperament will be when he grows up. It's too early to talk about marriage. She racked her brains to come up with such a gentle reason for rejection, but the other party did not appreciate it. Bai Lanho didn't take her refusal to heart. Instead, she waved her hand and said, I know what you are worried about. Don't worry. Everyone knows about you and Hongwen's situation. You will definitely not give birth to a stupid child. It doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl. As for the temperament, even if you haven't taught her well, I will help you pay attention to it. Lin Miaomiao almost swore. She used to think that this cousin was straightforward and easy to get along with, but now she realized that she was wrong. She was simply a weirdo. Suppressing her resentment, Lin Miaomiao tried to politely decline. Aunt Lanhua, you're overthinking this. We'll naturally raise our child well, but he's not even born yet, so there's no need for you to worry about him. When he grows up, he'll be able to decide for himself who he likes. We're not old-fashioned people, how can we decide for him? What the hell? Bai Lanhua said, her eyes widening in displeasure. Are you saying you don't like my Ziochi? Lin Miaomiao thought to herself, imagining what a grandson raised by a grandmother like that would be like in the future. She really didn't like him, but she didn't want to offend him, so she shook her head. Don't say things like you dislike him. I just think the child isn't even born yet, so there's no need to think too far ahead. After reluctantly explaining herself, Lin Miaomiao looked at her mother-in-law eagerly. If she didn't help, she might actually chase her away with a broom. Oh, she almost forgot, they all use cleaning robots now, and it would be very troublesome for her to get a broom, unless she asked for one. Fortunately, Mother Yi, who had been dragged into a conversation, finally noticed her daughter-in-law's predicament and overheard Bai Lanhua's wishful thinking. She came over and pulled her into a corner, saying, Don't make trouble here. My children don't engage in arranged marriages. Bai Lanhua pouted in protest, but Mother Yi continued, Don't say anything. I welcome you to visit my daughter-in-law, but if you want to have your eyes on the baby in her belly, don't blame me for not giving you face. Receiving Mother Yi's sharp and merciless warning, Bai Lanhua dared not argue anymore and laughed. Cousin, don't take it so seriously. I was just joking with Miaomiao. Well, after all the nagging, it was just a joke. Mother Yi didn't believe it, of course, but several relatives had noticed, and she didn't want to make it worse. Since they all lived in the same area, they should make some concessions to avoid future encounters. He made a few light-hearted jokes, then retreated back to his daughter-in-law, telling her not to pay attention to these things. Just treat it as wind in your ears, blow it away, and don't take it to heart. Every family has a few annoying relatives, and it's not good to make things too ugly even if they live close to each other. As long as they can get along on the surface, it's fine. To put it bluntly, it's all about maintaining superficial peace. Lin Miaomiao was naturally unhappy, but she also knew that she and Yi Hongwen rarely lived on Zhangyang Star now, and it was hard to say when they got old. Zhangyang Star was their roots in the hands of the Yi family, and it was better to have a harmonious environment. Mom, go and chat with the ants. I'm fine. Lin Miaomiao smiled and comforted. These things are just fantasies. I won't agree to them, and I won't argue with her too much. Mother Yi nodded with satisfaction. I'm sorry for putting you in a difficult position. Lin Miaomiao shook her head and said, What's there to be upset about? It was just a suggestion. If she didn't want to agree to it, she didn't have to agree. However, she felt more and more that it was a hassle to nurture the baby on Zhangyang Star, so it would be better to return to Yuan Star as soon as possible. Chapter 754 Persuasion. The second day after arriving at Shaoyin Star passed by amidst the laughter of relatives and friends. Of course, Lin Miaomiao didn't laugh. He just felt a headache. In the evening, Yi Hongwen sent him a video and he was in trouble. He was scolded. I haven't even heard of such arranged marriages nowadays. The child is just a bean sprout and they are running to get married. Am I stupid or is she stupid? Lin Miaomiao turned around the room angrily. Fortunately, the room was large, otherwise she would have been stuck in the same place. She didn't even dare to use the treadmill. Yi Hongwen was very angry when he heard that someone was eyeing the baby in his wife's belly, but his wife refused him in person. He couldn't send a video to settle the score with his aunt. He could only comfort her softly, let her daydream. We can't do anything if we don't agree to her. Distant relatives 3,000 miles away, even if they live nearby, have little intersection, so why bother? But I feel uncomfortable when I think that there are people around me with bad intentions. Lin Miaomiao scratched her hair, messing up the long hair on her shoulders, making her look like a crazy woman. Yi Hongwen looked at Kel and almost laughed out loud. He lowered his head to suppress his laughter. When he looked up again, he was still an icy handsome man. He said seriously, with your skills, you are not afraid of her even if you are pregnant. What is there to worry about? Lin Miaomiao thought this made sense, but she still rolled her eyes at Yi Hongwen. She can't beat me, but I don't like her. Besides, she won't beat me. It's so frustrating to have no place to vent my anger. You are right, Yi Hongwen suggested without any pressure, or I will let Luo Cheng pack up Lolly and send her back to Zhangyang Star. If Aunt Lanho comes home again, let Lolly throw her out. What a good way to drive away flies and vent anger at the same time. But Lin Miaomiao was reluctant. Don't bother. I want to return to Shaoyin Star soon. Then I'll live with my sister-in-law and have Lolly take care of me there. Yi Hongwen pondered for a moment, feeling that it was impossible to persuade his wife to stay on Zhangyang Star for a few more months. She looked like she was about to buy a ticket back to Shaoyin Star. To be honest, Yi Hongwen could understand her feelings. No matter how close the relationship or how close the blood relationship was, conflicts were prone to arise when they got together, let alone when they were not related. If they only came back a few times, it would be fine, and they could just ignore the unpleasant things. But if they wanted to stay there for a long time, there were some things they had to pay attention to. Well, after attending King's wedding, you'll return to Shaoyin Star, Yi Hongwen decided. In a couple of days, I'll tell Mom that if she's willing, she'll go with you to take care of you for 2 months. If she's not available, we'll hire someone else to take care of you. Lin Miaomiao nodded in satisfaction. She could have gone to Shaoyin Star without asking for permission, but it was better for husband and wife to be honest with each other to avoid affecting their relationship. With Yi Hongwen's agreement, Lin Miaomiao happily said, then I'll have to ask my dad for help and have him look for a reputable nanny. His sister-in-law had brought a nanny with her when she went to live in Chengguang. That nanny was hired by Lin Yuhei. According to investigations, she was a middle-aged woman with a clean background and a good temper. Yi Hongwen felt a little sympathetic towards his father-in-law. When he needed help, his wife was always the first to think of him. Fortunately, his wife was not heartless and never forgot to send gifts during festivals and elders' birthdays. It's better not to ask my father-in-law for help. I'll ask my mother first. If she goes, we won't have to find someone to take care of you. At this point, Lin Miaomiao could only nod and agree. After all, there were still a few days before Gu Qing's wedding, and she just had to find something to do so that she wouldn't be idle and daydreaming every day. Thinking of this, she complained again, your uncle is not a good person either. He actually implied that you were not concentrating on fighting the enemy, and were only concerned with your children's love affairs on the front line. This was to strengthen Yi Hongwen's idea of asking her to return to Yuanxing to nurture the fetus. There were several unreliable elders watching covetously around, and no matter how good the air was, it was not a good place to nurture the fetus. Yi Hongwen understood his wife's meaning and thought it was adorable that she was racking her brains for excuses. He wanted to tease her a bit, but was afraid of accidentally getting her mad, so he suppressed a smile and soothed her, I promised you and I won't change my mind. You don't have to think of excuses anymore. Lin Miaomiao breathed a sigh of relief. Go ahead. The matter was perfectly resolved, and the expert at destroying bridges after crossing the river was about to end the video call again. I spent the whole day chatting with your aunts and uncles today. I didn't even get a nap. I'm so sleepy. Yi Hongwen raised an eyebrow and asked in surprise, how come they ate lunch here after staying all day? They live next door, so it was normal for them to visit, but it was not appropriate for so many people to stay for dinner. After all, it wasn't a festival, so the host wouldn't prepare too much food. But their situation was different. They owned a large farm, so they could just send a robot with a list to pick up whatever they wanted. They weren't worried about these lingering guests. Lin Miaomiao yawned, rubbed her eyes, and slowly walked to Shell's bed to lie down. She forced herself to stay awake and said, they wanted to eat here, but Mom wouldn't let them. She said I like quiet and can't eat with so many people. With a pregnant woman at home, it was easy to find excuses. Although she wanted to talk to her husband more, Lin Miaomiao was very sleepy. Even if she forced herself to stay awake, she couldn't stay awake for long, and soon she was in a state of half-sleep. Yi Hongwen pinched the bridge of his nose helplessly and shouted at the top of his voice, Miaomiao, don't go to sleep yet. Did you forget you haven't changed into pajamas yet? Lin Miaomiao had a strange habit of sleeping. She had to change into pajamas to sleep comfortably. If she was too sleepy to change, she would wake up and feel uncomfortable for a long time. Lin Miaomiao, who was almost half asleep, was startled awake by the sudden voice. She fumbled and took her nightgown from the closet. Just as she was about to get dressed, she remembered that the video call had not been terminated and hurriedly tried to end it. Yi Hongwen was rarely dissatisfied. "Don't forget, we're husband and wife. It's not like we haven't seen it before. Why should we hide it like this? It's not as serious as you say," Lin Miaomiao said, her reasoning sounding convincing. "I'm just afraid of developing a bad habit. It's okay if it's you on the other end of the video call, but if it's someone else, some things don't need to be said explicitly," as Yi Hongwen readily addressed them. "It's indeed a bad habit. You have to change it in the future. Wife, please hang up the video call and get some rest." Lin Miaomiao gave him a look that said you're smart before hanging up the video call, rushing to the bathroom in her pajamas. Sleeping without a shower was uncomfortable. After a quick shower in a few minutes, Lin Miaomiao emerged from the bathroom barefoot in her pajamas. The outside was covered with a blanket, so she didn't even need slippers. She felt soft and comfortable walking all the way. Just as she got into bed, the doorbell rang. Lin Miaomiao, her eyelids drooping, was annoyed. "Knocking at this time? Are you going to let me sleep?" She wanted to ignore it, but she was afraid that people outside would misunderstand that something had happened to her, so she could only reluctantly get up and open the door. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755 No Good Food. Lin Miaomiao was so sleepy that she opened the door, said hello to Mother Yi, and then began to stagger, her eyelids glued together. Seeing this, Mother Yi realized she had come at a bad time and blamed herself for not letting her rest during the day, knowing she was pregnant and prone to sleepiness. She hurried over to support her, saying, "I'll take you to bed." "No, I can do it myself," Lin Miaomiao replied slurredly, still a little conscious. "Mom, is there anything wrong?" Even if there was something wrong, seeing her like this would make it easier. Mother Yi smiled and led her to the bed, saying, "Let's talk about it tomorrow. You should go to bed." Lin Miaomiao was extremely sleepy, so she naturally agreed to this. She followed Mother Yi's steps back to the bed, fell into the quilt, and quickly fell asleep, snoring softly. Mother Yi shook her head and sighed. She had noticed that her daughter-in-law hadn't eaten much for dinner, so she'd come to check on her in case she wasn't feeling well. Unexpectedly, Lin Miaomiao fell asleep before they could even say a few words. She looked so exhausted that Mother Yi was heartbroken. Zhangyang Star was different from other planets. Friends and family visiting was common, especially with a new family. She was sure many would come to chat with her these past few days, ostensibly to stay close to her, but in reality to find out more about Miaomiao. Mother Yi recalled her son's suggestion that his daughter-in-law go to Changguan to take care of the baby. She had originally been unhappy about this, unable to abandon her daughter, but now, she suddenly felt that it was a good idea. However, these matters would have to wait until after the wedding of her second brother's son, so Mother Yi didn't dwell on it. For the next few days, the Yi family's main building was bustling with activity. Not only were there housewives taking care of their children, but even busy men would pop in during their lunch breaks. Lin Miaomiao, visibly embarrassed, realized she had become a circus monkey. Finally, everyone's attention shifted when Gu Qingzhi's wedding began. Lin Miaomiao breathed a sigh of relief. Now that her cousin Qingzhi had a wife, the housewives probably wouldn't come to visit her anymore. Gu Qingzhi's wedding took place in the Gu family's ancestral hall. It was a sunny day, and the hall was decorated with festive decorations. Lin Miaomiao was ready for a feast, but she didn't expect to vomit as soon as she entered the hall. Seeing this, Mother Yi immediately took her out. Gu Qingshen, who was greeting guests at the door, immediately ran over and asked, "What's wrong with Hongwen's sister-in-law? Are you feeling unwell? I'll take you to the infirmary." Mother Yi smiled and waved her hand. "No need, you go and do your thing, she just can't stand the smell inside." Gu Qingshen suddenly realized that this was morning sickness, and his wife had also experienced it when she was pregnant, so he enthusiastically said, "I'll get Hongwen's sister-in-law a glass of water to rinse her mouth, and she can go in and play when she feels better." "No, thank you, cousin Qingshen." Lin Miaomiao retched for a long time before she felt a little better, but she didn't want to go in when she saw the ancestral hall. She couldn't stand the smell of food inside, so she didn't have the courage to step in again, so she hesitantly said, "I'd better go home and rest." Lin Miaomiao felt uncomfortable every time she called this cousin's name. She called cousin King Sheng as if he were her biological cousin. The second uncle's naming skills really need to be improved. Gu King Sheng had no idea what his cousins were thinking, so he said sternly, "How can that be? My brother is getting married, and since they're here, how can we go back like this? If we tell others, they'll think we didn't treat them well enough." Lin Miaomiao was in a dilemma. What her cousin King Sheng said made some sense, but she really didn't want to go into the ancestral hall again. What could she do? After thinking it over, she could only look to Mother Yu for help. Then, she was speechless to find that her mother-in-law's eyes were wandering, looking left and right but not at her, with no intention of helping at all. Mother Yu's behavior made Lin Miaomiao feel strange. Could it be that her cousin King Sheng was such a difficult person that even her mother-in-law didn't dare to speak to her? "Sister-in-law, mother, what are you doing here?" Yi Hongyin came out of the ancestral hall and broke the silence. "I looked for anyone in there for a long time but couldn't find anyone." "Yinger is here," Mother Yu greeted with relief. "Your sister-in-law is not feeling well." King Sheng said to send her to the infirmary, then go and see. Yi Hongyin thought her mother was very strange. If she was not feeling well, of course she had to go to the infirmary, so why were she staying here? When she turned around and saw her cousin King Shen, she understood, and hurriedly smiled and walked over. "Cousin, why are you staying here?" "My sister-in-law is too busy." "Hurry up, the guests are coming." Gu King Sheng looked back and saw that his wife was indeed surrounded by people. How could he have the mind to send his cousins to the hospital? So he turned back and reminded, "If you are not feeling well, go to the infirmary quickly. I'll go and get busy first." After he left, Mother Yu and Yi Hongying both breathed a sigh of relief, as if the plague god had been sent away. Lin Miaomiao paused, then curiously inquired, "Is cousin King Sheng difficult to deal with?" "Of course he is," the mother and daughter replied in unison. Lin Miaomiao wasn't sure whether to ask further, so she could only stare at them, eagerly awaiting an explanation. As she waited, her mind raced, trying to guess what was going on. Could it be that this cousin was being too nosy, or perhaps just nagging? Unexpectedly, when she didn't ask, her mother-in-law and sister-in-law acted as if nothing had happened, sending her home and hurried back to the ancestral hall, leaving her completely bewildered. It wasn't until Yi Hongwen sent her a video to check in on her that her confusion was finally resolved. It turned out that cousin Gu King Sheng was a serious and responsible man. Logically, such a man should be well liked, but that wasn't the case. Cousin King Sheng was well known on Zhangyang Star. Even the more troubled families avoided him because of his serious nature. He would come to the aid of those in need, but after helping, he would also give her a safety education class. Take Lin Miaomiao, for example. She felt unwell and vomited right after entering the ancestral hall. King Sheng's cousin volunteered to take her to the infirmary. If she had gone with him, after the doctor's appointment, King Sheng would have warned her about certain situations and foods she shouldn't eat, what kind of clothes she should wear, and what time she should go to bed. In short, he would explain everything a pregnant woman should be aware of, and the listener would have to sign a pledge to remember these things. Lin Miaomiao's eyes widened. "Cousin King Shen, do you know the precautions for pregnant women?" Yi Hongwen nodded solemnly. He was the one who took care of his wife's pregnancy. He knows everything about pregnant women, including the postpartum care and confinement. He's truly a good man in the interstellar world. Lin Miaomiao sighed with emotion. Everyone is too much? How can they be afraid of such a good person, because he's so good? Yi Hongwen said with a slight smile. If you agree to go to the infirmary with him for a checkup today and listen to his precautions for pregnant women, he will come to see if you've been obedient every day. Lin Miaomiao. Chapter 756 Return. Gu Qingzhi's wedding was a lively affair for 2 days. On the third day, the bride returned to her parents' home. There was a feast at the ancestral hall, but no one went early. Everyone ate at mealtime and then went home. Lin Miaomiao didn't eat a single bite of the feast during those 3 days. After her pregnancy symptoms set in, she felt nauseous at the sight of large amounts of meat and fish, and she no longer dared to eat at the ancestral hall. Every day, before dinner, Mother Yu would prepare her some lean meat porridge or vegetarian noodles, followed by a soup or something. Even these simple meals made her vomit, and she lost a lot of weight over the course of the past few days. Mother Yu and Yi Hongying were frantic, searching everywhere for nausea-inducing foods, buying a ton of sour plums and spicy lotus roots, hoping she'd eat more. Eventually, even her father-in-law at Shaoxing and Yi Hongwen at the front were alarmed. They called her frequently and mailed back any foods that were popular among pregnant women to help with nausea. For a foodie, there's nothing more frustrating than being surrounded by delicious food but unable to eat a single bite. Every time she sees her mother-in-law and sister-in-law eating meat, her eyes sparkle. If Yi Hongying weren't growing and in need of adequate nutrition, the Yi family would have banned meat altogether. Suddenly, Lin Miaomiao had been on Zhangyang Star for half a month. Constantly plagued by morning sickness, she was already planning to return to Shaoxing Star. She hadn't intended to leave at this time, but somehow, Gu Qingsheng's new bride failed to attract the attention of her friends and family, and the Yi family's main building remained bustling with activity every day. When Gu Qingsheng and his wife arrived to greet them, Lin Miaomiao, after presenting them with a couple's communicator as a welcome gift, suddenly decided to return to Shaoxing Star, even if Yi's mother objected. Fortunately, Yi's mother understood her recent hardships and, upon hearing that she wanted to return to Shaoxing Star, she agreed without hesitation and even packed her bags to go back with her. Seeing this, Lin Miaomiao advised her, "My sister-in-law has a nanny. She majored in maternal nursing in college. With her around, how can I be left without anyone to take care of me?" Mother Yi was still worried. That person is just a stranger. Even if she gets paid to take care of people, she won't be wholeheartedly. Besides, you and your sister-in-law need care. How can she do it alone? Seeing that her mother-in-law had made up her mind, Lin Miaomiao could no longer object. Anyway, her father was helping her find a nanny, so it would be okay to let her mother-in-law take care of her for a few days. When she knew everything was fine, she could return to Zhangyang at any time. Looking back at the confirmation of Yu Onxing's matter, Yi Hongying pouted and complained with tears in her eyes, "What should I do if you all leave and leave me alone at home? Aren't you afraid that I will run away from home?" Mother Yi patted her daughter's back and warned in a vicious voice, "Just stay at home and go to school on time. If you dare to learn to be rebellious like others, I will come back and peel off your skin." Yi Hongying stomped her feet in dissatisfaction. "I'm scared to be alone at home." "Then go to your second uncle's house," Mother Yi said decisively. "I'll let your cousin Qingsheng pick you up later." Hearing the name of cousin Qingsheng, Yi Hongying instantly wilted. "Mom, I call you Mom. You must not entrust me to cousin Qingsheng, otherwise I will die with regrets." Lin Miaomiao was amused. "Is it that exaggerated?" "It was even worse than that," Yi Hongying recalled with lingering fear. "I remember my brother's third year as captain of the Shenyu. My mother went to visit relatives on Shaoxing Star and entrusted me to my cousin Qingsheng. I was devastated." Gu Qingsheng was a serious man. Accepting the elder's request, he raised Yi Hongying like a daughter. He kept every schedule precise, including wake-up times, meal times, and school attendance, and held her to strict standards. In less than a month, Yi Hongying was suffocated by the discipline. When her mother returned, she felt like she had escaped death. Now, when her mother brought up entrusting her to her cousin Qingsheng, Yi Hongying immediately said, "I'm a grown-up now. I don't need an elder to watch over me every day. Go with peace of mind, Mom." Her mother slapped her daughter on the forehead again. "What do you mean by go with peace of mind? You're such a jerk." Saying all these unlucky things, Yi Hongying was on the verge of tears. Her meaning was so innocent, but why did her mother always hear something else? Regardless of the mother-daughter debate, the matter was settled. Mother Yi would accompany her daughter-in-law to Shaoxing Star for a while little sister Yi would fend for herself. Actually, she wasn't quite fending for herself. Little sister Yi had her own robotic butler, Milk Cow, by her side, and was surrounded by a coterie of relatives. Mother Yi had visited every household to entrust her with everything before leaving. There was a minor incident. Cousin Qingsheng offered to take little sister Yi home to look after her, but Mother Yi declined. After encountering the shipmaster's handicap on her last trip to Shaoxing Star, Mother Yi didn't want to take another passenger ship to Shaoxing Star. She simply went with her own transport ship. While the beds on the ship were a bit firm, they were faster and safer. Fresh fruits and other groceries would mostly be delivered to various physical stores on Zhangyang Star the next morning. The medium-sized passenger ship would take 18 hours to reach Shaoxing Star, so at noon, Lin Miaomiao and Mother Yi boarded the transport ship. To others, riding on a transport ship was uncomfortable in every way, but not so in Lin Miaomiao's eyes. The Yi family's transport ships all had a lounge reserved for the owner, and the bed inside was neither too soft nor too hard, but quite comfortable. It was just that living with Yi's mother was a little strange. Because it was their own ship, Yi's mother could easily get around, and she would go to the kitchen to prepare meals herself, saying that she needed to take good care of her unborn baby. However, Lin Miaomiao, already experiencing morning sickness and discomfort, felt even more uncomfortable aboard the ship. After the ship took off, she felt so dizzy that she lay in bed, unwilling to move. In the evening, when Yi's mother cooked and brought her dinner, she could only barely drink half a bowl of porridge and couldn't even eat the fragrant fried egg. Yi's mother was heartbroken, saying that if it weren't for the unrest at home, she wouldn't have had to return to Yuangsing to nurture the baby. And she wouldn't have suffered this hardship. These people are so ignorant. They know that you are suffering from morning sickness, but they still come here every day to give you advice and suggestions, which prevents you from having a good rest. Lin Miaomiao forced a smile to comfort her mother-in-law. It's okay, they mean well, I know, Mother Yi groaned. If they had bad intentions, I would have thrown them out long ago. To put it bluntly, these people are idle at home taking care of the children all day, and when they encounter something that they can shine, they can't help but come here to give advice. Every day they are like chicken blood, making them embarrassed to refuse. Then it became a vicious cycle, and even Mother Yi was unwilling to let her daughter-in-law stay at home to take care of the baby. Just bear with it a little longer. We will arrive at Shaoyin Star tomorrow morning. Then we will not go to the military compound, but directly to Chen Guang's place. Mother Yi took her anger out on her husband. It's all because those relatives of the Yi family are too idle. Chapter 757, The Anger Front Alliance. After enduring for half a day and a night, Lin Miaomiao set foot on Shaoyin Star's land at 6 the next morning. Shaking her groggy head and taking a breath of fresh air, she slowly regained consciousness. True to her word, Mother Yi simply sent Father Yi a text message to inform him of her whereabouts. She then boarded a car and took her daughter-in-law directly to Chengguang, annoyed by Father Yi's inconsolable fate. Father Yi was so angry that he sent several videos, each of which was rejected. Isn't this a bad idea? Lin Miaomiao said, feeling a pang of guilt. Mother Yi pouted, he deserves it. Then she lectured her daughter-in-law, you're also a daughter-in-law of the Yi family. You have to stand with me. Lin Miaomiao nodded awkwardly. In a clash between her father-in-law and mother-in-law, she naturally sided with her mother-in-law, not just because they were both daughters-in-law of the Yi family, but also because she was closer to her. However, after Yi Hongwen sent the video, Lin Miaomiao regretted her hasty agreement. It turned out that Mother Yi's reference to standing together extended beyond resisting Father Yi, encompassing Yi Hongwen as well. So, she was forced to reject the video as well. After rejecting the call twice in a row, Yi Hongwen's text message came in. Miaomiao, have you gotten off the spaceship yet? He didn't ask why she didn't answer the video call, but was just concerned about whether she had gotten off the spaceship. Lin Miaomiao pursed her lips and smiled. Seeing that Yi's mother only glanced at her sideways and didn't mean to stop her from replying, she quickly replied, I've gotten off the spaceship and am on my way to Chengguang. A few seconds later, another text message came, still from Yi Hongwen. Didn't you say you were going to stay at the old man's place for a few days? Yi's mother's brows knitted instantly. Lin Miaomiao knew that when she saw the old man's words, she thought of Yi's father, and then she was unhappy again. She was clearly concerned, yet she chose to vent her anger on him. Lin Miaomiao was completely drunk. She didn't want to follow her mother-in-law's lead, so she took advantage of her mother-in-law's moment to reply, sending another message. Mom thinks my pregnancy is severe, and moving around is too exhausting, so she said we're going directly there. It was a casual lie, and Yi Hongwen wouldn't believe it. It indirectly hinted that it was his mother-in-law's idea to go directly to Chengguang. Combined with the rejection of the video call, he could definitely guess that Yi's mother was angry, and not just at him, her son. So Yi Hongwen didn't text again to inquire, simply sending a simple message, rest well when you get to Chengguang's apartment. No matter how uncomfortable you feel, eat plenty. For you and the baby, I'll video chat with you tonight when I'm free. Lin Miaomiao stared at the message with a blank expression, but her inner child was grinning. Yi Bingshan was becoming increasingly clingy. Before, even when they were away on missions for months, they wouldn't video chat frequently. Now, he sent messages almost every night. On second thought, this change only occurred after she became pregnant. Could it be that she had gained status because of her son? She felt a little unhappy for some reason. Mother Yi, who was not in a good mood, suddenly felt a chill all over her body. She looked at the air conditioner in the car and saw that the temperature was set quite high. How come it seemed to be getting colder? Then she looked at her daughter-in-law in the passenger seat. She was just as cold as her son and was stunned. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. After a couple has been together for a long time, even their air conditioning skills are so similar. Miaomiao, Mother Yi has always been straightforward. She asked directly what she was worried about. Are you unhappy because I didn't let you answer Hongwen's call? Lin Miaomiao shook her head. How could that be? We can still contact each other by texting. Mother Yi breathed a sigh of relief. It was not for this. She just wanted to trick Father Yi and her son, but she didn't want to make her daughter-in-law unhappy. As a pregnant woman, she had to keep a good mood. After relaxing, Yi's mother became even more curious and pressed. Then why aren't you happy? Yesterday, you said you'd be back with Jiao to nurture the baby. You weren't very happy. Yes, I am, Lin Miaomiao said without denying. But Hongwen has been sending me videos a lot lately. He used to only send me videos every few days when he was away on a mission for a few months, but now he's sending them so often. Is it because the baby is more important than me? She felt embarrassed to ask Yi Hongwen, but wouldn't it be the same to ask his mother? Lin Miaomiao believed that, so she asked the same question. Yi's mother was stunned. Shouldn't she ask her best friend about such a question? Why would she ask her mother-in-law? It was obvious that she would explain everything to her son, unless her daughter-in-law just wanted a legitimate reason. Turning her head to admire the receding scenery outside the window for a long time, Yi's mother finally came up with a more appropriate answer. Everyone is nervous when they're on a mission, and we don't know what stage the other party's mission is at, so it's convenient to respond to video calls. Of course, they reduced the number of video calls. Yi's mother didn't know if her daughter-in-law was satisfied with this answer, but she herself was quite satisfied. Then Lin Miaomiao said quietly, he is the captain, and the deputy captain in charge will report the progress of the mission to him at any time. Mother Yi wanted to cry but had no tears. Her daughter-in-law has always been very generous and rarely cares about these small details. Why is she holding on to it this time? This can't go on. Her son has grown up and should explain himself for his own actions. As a mother, it is not easy for her to interfere. So she said with a serious face, you can ask him about these facts in person. That is a matter for you young people. I, an old woman, will not get involved. Mom, how can you be old? When we stand together, we say we are sisters. Lin Miaomiao praised at first, and then became more resentful. As for the rest, I can't ask. Did you stop me from answering the video? Mother Yi suddenly realized that he was waiting for her here. She thought her daughter-in-law accepted her authoritarian policy well, but it turned out that she was just trying to find a way out of the situation in private. After understanding the crux of the matter, Mother Yi waved her hand helplessly. If he sends another video, just answer it. I can handle the issue between your father and me on our own. I won't involve you anymore. Finally, she heard these words. The mean-spirited Lin Miaomiao laughed heartily, her hands on her hips, but she said, this isn't good. I promise to stick with you through thick and thin. How can you not be loyal? Of course, Lin Miaomiao secretly believed that loyalty was something she should talk about with her brothers and sisters. As for her mother-in-law, filial piety was more important. Come on, Mother Yi finally couldn't help but roll her eyes at her daughter-in-law. You just wanted this outcome, and now that you have it, you're still trying to fool me. Lin Miaomiao lowered her head and remained silent. At such a sensitive moment, she should firmly believe in the old saying, silence is golden, and remain unchanged in the face of change, so that her mother-in-law would see her sincerity. Mother Yi nearly lost her temper. Aside from Father Yi, she'd never lost her composure in front of anyone before. Even Yi Hongwen and his sister weren't capable of that. Who knew she'd nearly capsize in the gutter today? It was a close call. Losing face was a small matter, but it would be terrible if she got so angry that she scared her unborn grandson. Mother Yi was determined to be a graceful and loving grandmother. Thinking of this, Mother Yi calmed down. Chapter 758 Unexpected Visitor. Both mother-in-law and daughter-in-law remained silent. Lin Miaomiao wanted to sigh again. This was what it was like to marry a soldier. Others, when pregnant, spend time with their husbands to cultivate their relationship, but she was with her mother-in-law. Luckily, As a soldier herself, she understood the frustration. After the child was born, she'd likely have to be raised by her mother-in-law, and she'd only be able to take care of it for the first few months. This was also the frustration faced by female soldiers. The military today is unlike the 21st century, thousands of years ago. As long as a woman has the potential and desire to be a mecha pilot, it's easy for her to join the fleet. There are no restrictions on the number of positions. Unfortunately, the importance of mecha pilots to the military necessitates that there's no set limit on service. Only soldiers who have stagnated at level 3 for 5 years, or level 4 for 10 years, will be selectively discharged. This is because the fleet already has enough mecha pilots and needs to make room for new recruits. For this reason, the fleet doesn't prohibit marriage among its members. New recruits receive family leave and marriage leave after 1 year, and female soldiers receive maternity leave after 5 years. The fleet offers generous maternity leave, available from the moment a pregnancy is confirmed. After the birth, a further 6 months of rest are allowed to ensure full recovery and the ability to withstand the rigors of training and missions before returning to the fleet. Even before the birth of her child, Lin Miaomiao felt a pang of guilt. Neither she nor Yi Hongwen had reached the rank of 4th level mecha operator. Even if the fleet was full and needed a vacant position, it wouldn't be their turn. Unless they were seriously injured and unable to operate a mecha, or a family crisis necessitated a career change, they would be considered incompetent parents. Just like the Lin twins, who had been raised by their eldest aunt, Lin Miaomiao's mother, since childhood. When their mother passed away, their father retired. Besides being traumatized, he also had the added consideration of returning home to care for the children. The reason why it was Lin's father who retired to care for the children was simple: Uncle Lin was more capable than him and could go further, while Aunt Lin, though sensible and virtuous, was no match for the unruly children. Lin Miaomiao learned all this from the original owner's diary, because the most unsettling thing was the original owner's face, which had suddenly become expressionless overnight. "We're here," Mother Yi suddenly called out. "Miaomiao, what are you daydreaming about? Are you feeling unwell?" Lin Miaomiao's thoughts drifted away, and she realized that her mother-in-law had already gotten out of the car and was waiting for her at the entrance of the Chengguang apartment building. Her ears couldn't help but feel hot. She wasn't a child anymore, so why was she always imagining things? Secretly cursing herself, Lin Miaomiao pushed open the door and got out of the car. As soon as she put the flying car into the space button, several people ran out of the apartment building. One was Renjai Ojio, with a slightly swollen belly, another was an ordinary-looking middle-aged woman, and the third was Liang Hongyu. "Grandma Liang," Lin Miaomiao was surprised. "Why are you here? I still have a year until graduation." After self-studying his high school courses, Lin took the college entrance exam. He was interested in ship piloting and had originally planned to attend the ship piloting academy on Shaoyin Star. However, unexpectedly, Milulin's second academy suddenly added a ship piloting department, so Grandpa Lin decisively allowed his grandson to attend Milulin. The ship piloting program requires a lot of knowledge. Besides being able to fly a ship and employ various offensive and defensive tactics, one also needs to learn the common minor problems that arise with ships, so as to avoid being left helpless if a problem arises during flight. It can be said that a good ship pilot is also part repairman. It is precisely for this reason that the ship piloting program is a 5-year program, and since Lin was still in the first semester of his 5th year, it was somewhat strange that Liang Hongyu, who had been living with him, was here. Liang Hongyu also knew that her presence here was a bit strange, so she explained with a smile, "Tang heard that you were going back to Chengguang to take care of your pregnancy, so please let me come over and take care of you first. Anyway, I don't have anything to do right now, so it's good for me to come here." Perhaps because of their looks, Liang Hongyu also liked Lin Miaomiao. In addition, Lin's younger brother was registered under Lin Yuhei's name, and the siblings got along like biological children. Over the years, Grandma Liang also treated Lin Miaomiao as her own granddaughter. "Well," Lin Miaomiao pursed her lips and smiled, "I'll trouble you in the future." "It's not a trouble, it's just a small matter." Liang Hongyu smiled and looked at Mother Yi. "Mother Hongwen is here too. I thought you were taking care of your daughter and didn't have time to come, so I volunteered to come. It seems that my trip was in vain." Mother Yi was a little unhappy. Liang Hongyu's words sounded like she was accusing her of favoring her daughter and ignoring her pregnant daughter-in-law. She even rushed to take care of her daughter-in-law. If she hadn't been so strong-willed, she would have cursed. After feeling unhappy, she felt a bit guilty. Her daughter was only 16, and Mother Yi simply said she couldn't stay here for a year or two to care for her daughter-in-law, especially with the restless relatives at home, making it difficult to even bring someone back to nurse her. Mother Yi wanted to say that she could care for her daughter-in-law herself and didn't need outsiders, but the reality of the situation deflated her, and she could only say dryly, "Aunt Liang, you're so thoughtful. I'll really trouble you in the future." Liang Hongyu smiled faintly. "What's the problem? She's my older sister, and we have a good relationship. I treat her like my granddaughter, so it's only natural to take care of her." Before arriving, Grandma Liang was still speculating about why her granddaughter had gone to Zhangyang Star and then returned to Shaoyin Star, saying she wanted to stay with her sister-in-law during the pregnancy. She unilaterally attributed it to Mother Yi's inadequate care, prompting her to run back in anger. Only after Mother Yi came along did she realize it was a misunderstanding, and her tone softened. No matter how long she could care for her, as long as she had the heart, it was enough. It was also because of this that, apart from the first sentence which was slightly ironic, Liang Hongyu's second sentence was sincere. Lin Miaomiao didn't care about the little banter between her mother-in-law and Grandma Liang. She was busy coaxing her pregnant sister-in-law. "I didn't ignore it, really. It's just that I knew you were here, and Grandma Liang came unexpectedly, so I couldn't help but say hello to her first. I don't care, I'm your sister-in-law, you have to say hello to me first." Ren Jiaojiao was spoiled when she was in the Ren family, and it was even more terrible after she married into the Lin family. Because of the prevalence of Yang and the deficiency of Yin, the elders of the Lin family also doted on her, so that the little willfulness in her temper has never changed. If it were any other peers in the Lin family, they would have apologized swiftly after hearing the eldest sister-in-law say this, but she said this to Lin Miaomiao, and the result was very unusual. Equally headstrong, Lin Miaomiao retorted without hesitation, "You're my sister-in-law, yes, but Grandma Liang is my elder. Of course I have to greet her first. Don't you even respect your elders, sister-in-law?" "Of course not." Ren Jiaojiao refused to take the blame. "I just think we have a good relationship, so a hug is the right thing to do when we meet." "What do you think?" Lin Miaomiao glanced at her still flat belly, then at her sister-in-law's slightly protruding belly, and she was decidedly conflicted. Hug? Or not? That's quite the question. Happy Lantern Festival. Chapter 759 Ren Jiaojiao's hard work. Although Lin Miaomiao desperately wanted to give her sister-in-law a big hug, she ultimately couldn't. Both Grandma Liang and Mother Yi dissuaded her, and even the hired nanny disapproved. Pregnant women hugging each other, what if they accidentally bumped into each other? Neither of the elders wanted to take that risk. So, the two pregnant women exchanged a wry smile and obediently followed the elders back to the top-floor apartment. This apartment building was built for Chen Guang's employees. Besides the Shenyu fleet, there were no other buildings nearby, and without accommodation, it would be inconvenient for the employees to commute. Fortunately, Chen Guang used robots to manage much of the area, and with only a small staff, one apartment building was more than enough. It also served as a staff dormitory, with multiple people sharing a room. Standard employees had single rooms, management had 2 bedrooms and a living room, and senior management had 3 bedrooms and a living room. Lin Miaomiao occupied the top floor, which she had designed into a 5-bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 2 bathrooms, a space Kali had reserved from the beginning. As Lin's father put it, since the employees all had 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartments with balconies, the bosses deserved better accommodation. The master bedroom was decorated according to Lin Miaomiao's preferences. After moving in, Ren Jiaojiao did not choose that room. Instead, she found another room that had never been lived in and decorated it according to her own preferences, intending to live there for a long time. As soon as Lin Miaomiao entered the room, she asked the nanny to take your mama to the empty room to settle down. She was about to go back to her room to wash up, but was stopped by Ren Jiaojiao, who had been waiting for her all morning. She insisted on taking her sister-in-law to visit her newly decorated room. "It took me half a month to decorate the room. You have to help me see if there's anything I have overlooked," Ren Jiaojiao said modestly, but her face was full of satisfaction, as if she was very confident in her taste. "Can I go back to my room to wash up first?" Lin Miaomiao asked without any expectations. The living facilities on the transport ship are very complete, but after all, I am not used to it. I always feel that I am covered in dust after just getting off the ship, and I feel uncomfortable if I don't wash and change clothes. No, Ren Jiao refused outright. She had spent so much effort to decorate the room. The nanny was not a good person to show off to, and Grandma Liang was not familiar with her either. She had finally waited for her sister-in-law to come, so she had to show off. Lin Miaomiao, who had been mentally prepared, sighed helplessly, and dragged her reluctant steps to follow her sister-in-law to the room to the right of the master bedroom, with an expectant expression on her face. Ren Jiao looked back and was dumbfounded. What's with that expression? It's so worrying. Obviously, she was a beautiful little lady, but in the blink of an eye, she turned into a zombie face, with dead fish eyes on it, which made people feel creepy. Lin Miaomiao felt terrible. She made an expectant expression to cooperate with her sister-in-law's show-off behavior. Is it her fault that she didn't make a standard expression because of facial nerve necrosis? Fortunately, Ren Jiao also realized that she had hurt her sister-in-law's feelings, and hurried to make amends. I was afraid that the atmosphere would be too serious, so I was just joking with you, Miaomiao. Don't mind it. Even if she minded, she couldn't say it in front of her own sister-in-law. Lin Miaomiao could only say with tears in her eyes, don't worry, I don't mind. Ren Jiao nodded with satisfaction, and generously gave her sister-in-law a good guy card. Miaomiao, you are such a good person. After giving out a good guy card casually, Ren Jiao stood in front of her door with her sister-in-law. A solemn look came over her face, and she said solemnly, this is my hard work. It took me more than half a month to get it done. Lin Miaomiao also became a little serious. Her sister-in-law must have been feeling suffocated during the pregnancy for several months. When she met a place where she could show her talents, she would definitely make it perfect. You don't need to look to know that the decoration inside would not be bad. So she said seriously, I'm ready to turn on the camera function of the communicator. I will take some good pictures later and put them in my communication space for everyone to enjoy. Ren Jiao blushed. Oh, I just thought about it casually. How can I be so embarrassed? She said it politely but did not mean to stop her. Lin Miaomiao understood what she meant. Isn't it just saying no but really liking something? After hesitating for a long time, Ren Jiao finally pushed the door open. Lin Miaomiao walked in and exclaimed exaggeratedly, wow, it's beautiful. After praising it, she froze instantly when she saw the decoration of the room. The snow-white walls were covered with bright red wallpaper. The 3-meter-long bed was covered with a light yellow velvet 4-piece suit. The curtains were pink with a Q-version mecha. The heart-shaped wardrobe was light purple. Looking at the floor, there was a whole sky-blue fluffy carpet. Everything in the room looked good when taken apart, but when put together, the word messy could only describe it. How's that? I spent 2 days and 2 nights conceiving this, and I personally supervised Xiao Jiao decorating it. Ren Jiao's face was filled with unconcealed pride. Xiao Jiao was Ren Jiao's intelligent robot butler. Lin Miaomiao knew her sister-in-law was quite satisfied with the room's current state, but she simply couldn't see what was so beautiful about it. She could have lied without seeing it, but now that she had, she couldn't praise it at all. But faced with her sister-in-law's expectant eyes, she felt embarrassed to pour cold water on her and could only laugh dryly, saying, it's quite childlike. Ren Jiao's eyes lit up, and she excitedly shook her sister-in-law's hand. We really do think alike. Then she launched into a flurry of talk about her room's design concept. It turned out that she was thinking about designing a beautiful nursery for her unborn baby, so she used her sister-in-law's house as a practice. We'll be staying in Shenaiyu for decades anyway, so this room will be mine from now on, Ren Jiao said with a domineering air. Lin Miaomiao was too lazy to argue with her and simply nodded, whatever you want. There were too many rooms anyway, and it would be useless to leave them empty, so it would be nice to just give them to her sister-in-law. Ren Jiao was satisfied. And she even tugged at her sister-in-law's hand. Sister, you're so kind, you're such a good person. After receiving another good person card, Lin Miaomiao felt numb, only hoping that after agreeing to her sister-in-law's request, she could go back to her room and wash up. They had gotten off the airship early, so they didn't eat the breakfast in the cafeteria because it wasn't tasty. After spending 2 hours on the airship, they were all a little hungry. As if she had heard her thoughts, Mother Yi called out from outside, Miaomiao, Jiao, Aunt Liu has already prepared breakfast, Come out and eat. Lin Miaomiao felt relieved. Sister-in-law, let's go out quickly. Breakfast won't taste good if it's cold. You? Ren Jiaojiao looked at her sister-in-law's face suspiciously, as if something was wrong. After thinking for a long time, she came up with a possibility. Do you think the room I designed is not good looking? As soon as she finished speaking, her face fell, and she was about to cry in a minute. No, Lin Miaomiao shook her head like a rattle. I'm hungry. The food on the flying ship is too bad. I didn't eat enough last night. Really? Ren Jiaojiao questioned. Really? Lin Miaomiao made a promise solemnly. I accompanied my mother to make dumplings today, and I was delayed again. The third chapter is not out yet. Chapter 760, Sudden Bad News. Maybe it was because she was happier back on Shaoyin Star, but the morning sickness had actually eased a bit. She ate a hearty breakfast, showered in her room, and went back to sleep. She felt great without having to continue exploring the brightly colored children's room. She woke up at noon, and the thought of lunch making her feel incredibly full. She lost all desire to eat. She struggled under the covers, struggling until Mama Yu knocked on the door again. Being called out was quite embarrassing. With her ears flushed, Lin Miaomiao scrambled to her feet and dressed. She opened the door and saw Mama Yu's hand on the doorbell again, ready to nudge her again. Wow, you're up before I even pressed it a second time, Mama Yu exclaimed in surprise. We can have dinner earlier today. With her morning sickness and sleepiness, back on Zhangyang Star, Mama Yu had always been there to wake her up and eat. Lin Miaomiao had grown accustomed to it, even feeling a sense of hopelessness and resignation. Mom, you have to get up early, Lin Miaomiao greeted calmly with red ears. Mother Yu smiled and said, you are old and don't need to sleep so long. There will be your favorite spicy and sour potato shreds for lunch, eat more later. Really? Lin Miaomiao's heart was instantly filled with joy. Thank you, Mom, you are so kind. Since it was her favorite dish, lunch must have been prepared by her mother-in-law, and thanks were necessary. Mother Yu smile deepened a little. You are such a sweet talker. Lin Miaomiao wrinkled her nose and agreed. With such a paralyzed face, it was impossible not to be sweet talker. When they arrived at the dining table, Ren Jiaojiao and Liang Honggai were already seated. Only Aunt Liu was not there. After Lin Miaomiao sat down with her mother-in-law, lunch began. Ren Jiaojiao stretched out her chopsticks towards the spicy and sour potato shreds. I haven't eaten Aunt Yi's cooking for a long time. Today I finally have a treat. With one chopstick, the plate was 1/3 empty. Lin Miaomiao frantically said, slow down. I haven't even started eating yet. She reached for her chopsticks as she spoke, but she was too late to snatch the food. Most of the shredded potatoes had already ended up in Ren Jiaojiao's bowl. How could you do that? Lin Miaomiao glared at her sister-in-law's bowl unhappily. The elders haven't even started eating yet, and you're grabbing like a bandit. Ren Jiaojiao shook her head and said, there's no such thing as elders or juniors at the table. If you grab something, you're taking advantage. This bandit's reasoning was enough. Lin Miaomiao glanced at the dishes in frustration. She spotted the stir-fried pork and sour beans. Her eyes lit up again, and she hurried to grab some. Unexpectedly, Ren Jiaojiao also took a liking to this dish and used the large spoon in the soup bowl to scoop it up. Seeing herself about to be at a disadvantage again, Lin Miaomiao, in anger, simply picked up the plate. Ren Jiaojiao was speechless. You? How could you do that? Didn't you tell me not to do that? Lin Miaomiao said, beaming with joy after winning a game. The first to strike is the strongest, the last to strike will suffer. You lose this time. This made so much sense that Ren Jiaojiao was speechless and could only shed silent tears. Grandma Liang was so amused. You two kids are so funny. There's so much food, no need to fight over it. Mother Yu nodded in agreement. Don't worry. If today's food isn't enough, we can make more tomorrow. The two elders said this with good intentions, but were met with a unanimous refusal. Food tastes better when you fight over it. Mother Yu was speechless. They weren't little kids anymore, and they were still fighting over food. But that was a good thing. Her daughter-in-law had been suffering from morning sickness for days, but today, despite the stimulation, she showed no signs of vomiting. Afterward, the two pregnant women would pick up dishes. If they were spicy or sour, they would fight over them, taking the plates and grabbing them, leaving Mother Yi and Grandma Liang without much to eat. Before she finished her meal, Lin Miaomiao's communicator rang again. As soon as she saw the number, she was confused. Did we video chat this morning? Why is it calling again? Mother Yu was very sensitive. Is it Hongwen? Lin Miaomiao nodded without saying anything. She answered the video call skillfully and said in a light tone, "Why do you want to video chat with me again? Are you here to check on me?" Her eyes fell on Yi Hongwen's handsome face full of sorrow and the black veil tied on his left arm. Lin Miaomiao's heart skipped a beat. Something happened. What happened? Mother Yi asked first. She was sitting next to her daughter-in-law and could clearly see the expression on her son's face. Yi Hongwen closed his eyes. At 9 o'clock, the Empire's warships arrived. There were only 2 of them. The commander-in-chief underestimated the enemy and did not notify the fleets to set up defenses. He directly ordered Wuang's 6 warships to fight. He also directly closed the base's protective shield when the planet's defense layer was not yet activated. Lin Miaomiao was confused. There were only 2 warships, so sending 6 to fight was not considered underestimating the enemy. Could it be that something went wrong in the middle? Before they could ask, Yi Hongwen continued, after the 6 warships took off, the commander-in-chief did not remember to order people to close the protective shield, so the base was left open. Wuang's 6 warships fought with the Empire's warships in midair, and naturally had the upper hand, but everyone's attention was on the fight between the warships. No one saw that the Empire's warships opened their hatches in the chaos, and several mechas rushed into the base. By the time the Shadowless Men discovered and reported the Imperial presence, it was too late. The Imperials had somehow figured out the location of the passenger shipyard and rushed to the sunken moon landing site. They used their ion cannons to blast open the ship's door and enter the ship, then blasted through the corridors and rushed towards the captain's quarters. Yi Hongwen and his men were in the captain's quarters at the time. After receiving the warning from the cockpit, they boarded their mechas and went out to engage the enemy, only to discover that the Imperial mechas were targeting not the captain's quarters but the adjacent infirmary. The duty medic, alerted by the captain's quarters, attempted to hide in the cockpit, but the Imperial mechas were swift and reckless, bombing any door they encountered. The robotic nurses who rushed to repel the attack were all blasted to pieces. The infirmary claimed to be next to the captain's quarters, but the distance between them was considerable. Yi Hongwen and his men immediately boarded their mechas and rushed out. But the activation time was still several seconds too late. Those few seconds delayed the attack, and after the robotic nurses, the 2 on-duty medics and the seriously injured prisoners in the ward were also killed. 2 military doctors? Who were they? Lin Miaomiao's voice trembled slightly. There were more than 10 military doctors in the fleet, and 10 of them were on this expedition, all of whom she could name. Yi Hongwen took a deep breath. It's Qijing and Ji Yuang. With a snap, the chopsticks in Lin Miaomiao's hand snapped. Had Dr. Ji just gone like that? How could it be so sudden? It was unacceptable. Qijing was arrogant, and because of her love for Yi Hongwen, she disliked Lin Miaomiao. The 2 had never had much in common. Her death was sad, but not unbearable. But Ji Yuang was different. He was the chief military doctor in the infirmary, cheerful and occasionally a bit treacherous. Whenever he saw Lin Miaomiao, he would call her Little Cook, give me a hug, claiming to want a sister as adorable as Little Cook, and even forcibly adopted her as his sister. Such a scoundrel and cunning man had actually left like that. Chapter 761 I Really Want to Be With You. Upon hearing the tragic news about Ji Yuang, all 3, except Liang Hongao, were stunned. Ren Jiao was a close teammate. Needless to say, even Mother Yu was very familiar with him, and their eyes welled up at the news. The Shen Yu is a super battleship. Even if there aren't many people aboard, it can't be that easy to blow through the main gate, Ren Jiao demanded through gritted teeth. Could it be that there's a traitor among the pilots? While the battleship couldn't use offensive means while on the boarding platform, its defenses weren't compromised. The fact that several enemy mechas had breached the ship's gate and made it straight to the infirmary was sheer utter traitor. Yi Hongwen's eyes hardened, and he pursed his lips and shook his head. There's no traitor. It was my negligence. The fleet wasn't equipped with enough main pilots, so whenever they had free time, they began training pilots. While it wasn't as systematic and comprehensive as what they learned in school, the one-on-one instruction wasn't bad either. Today's arrangement was for an experienced pilot to lead the newcomers. When the Imperial mech burst in, the veteran pilot had just gone to the restroom. The inexperienced new pilot, in his haste, didn't even deploy the shields, only lowering the door over the passageway. However, no matter how strong the mixed metal was, It couldn't withstand the intense fire. Without further defenses, breaching the metal door was a matter of seconds. It was all coincidence, and Yi Hongwen couldn't help it. He simply blamed himself for not assigning 2 more pilots to duty. The 2 lieutenants went to make follow-up arrangements, and he lay awake in his hospital bed. Ji Yuanyang and Kui Jing's incident had occurred in the examination room, which had been bombed to shreds. Feeling distressed, he didn't know who to talk to, so he thought of Lin Miaomiao. She was the only one who could comfort him at this moment. Yi Hongwen hadn't wanted to tell his pregnant wife about Ji Yuanyang's situation, but he wanted to share a few words with her. However, once the video call was connected, he impulsively leaked the news. Seeing Lin Miaomiao's sad look, Yi Hongwen's heart ached again, and he comforted her in a hoarse voice. "Miaomiao, you are in a special body now, don't think too much, I will avenge Yuanyang and the others." "How will you avenge?" Lin Miaomiao looked at Yi Hongwen's handsome face, which had become much more haggard. He was just a little tired in the morning, but now he was haggard and weak. Looking at the environment he was in, it was obvious that he was not on the captain's room. "Are you in the ward? Are you injured?" Mother Yi didn't know what the ward in Shenaiyu medical department looked like. Her son's face was tanned and he didn't look weak. She was still sighing when she knew that Ji Yuanyang was in trouble. When she heard her daughter-in-law mention the ward, she was scared. "Hongwen, what injury are you in? Is it serious?" Yi Hongwen was sitting on the hospital bed when he started the video, and the camera was also aimed at the snow-white wall to prevent his wife from discovering that his hand was injured. Who would have thought that he would be exposed despite his preparation? He didn't know where he'd let it slip, but thinking of Lin Miaomiao's pregnancy, he flatly denied it. "Miaomiao, you're mistaken. I'm in the captain's room, how could I be in the ward?" Lin Miaomiao knew exactly what he was worried about, and tears welled up in her eyes. She stared up at the ceiling for a long moment before forcing back the tears. There are a few small hooks on the wall of the ward, convenient for patients to hang their belongings on. While the ship was stable, it would still be rocked by hurricanes, and the tables wouldn't hold anything. Teammates visiting patients would bring things, and since there was no place to put them, they'd set up a few hooks. Lin Miaomiao knew so much because it was her suggestion, something she'd used on the original main ship. Yi Hongwen realized his clue had been revealed in a small way, and he quickly corrected himself. "Yuanyang and the others had their incident here, and I'm looking for any clues here. The Imperial mechas clearly came here with a purpose, probably for some reason." "You're kidding?" Yi's mother grumbled. Lin Miaomiao nodded and added, "Even if they had ulterior motives, they wouldn't have left you alone in the hospital ward. Besides, with the fleet in trouble, how could you have so much free time if you had nothing else to do?" He was probably so busy that he had no time to even grieve. His wife and mother knew him so well that Yi Hongwen was speechless. He could only smile wryly. "I only sustained minor injuries." The Empire went to great lengths in this surprise attack, sending 5 level 6 mecha divisions. Otherwise, the ship's gate wouldn't have been so easy to breach. He and the 2 lieutenants were the only ones in the captain's room at the time. The captains were out supervising their team members' training. 3 against 5, they were outnumbered. Yi Hongwen held off the 3 enemies alone. By the time Song Changtai and the other 2 had finished off their opponents and arrived to help, his mental strength was severely depleted. After dispatching the enemies, Yi Hongwen barely managed to open the door to the mecha cabin. He stumbled out of the mecha and tried to attend to the follow-up matters, but was stopped by Lin Yin. His spiritual realm was severely damaged, and the examination room and repair cabin were destroyed. Lin Yin wanted to send him to the base's infirmary for treatment, but he was afraid that the Empire's mecha division would rush in and refuse to go. He only asked the 2 deputy captains to call all the team members back. Song Changtai had no choice but to get him an oral high-level repair nutrient solution to drink, and then went to deal with the matter of the Shenaiyu. Yi Hongwen said that he was slightly injured, but Lin Miaomiao and Yi's mother did not believe it. They clamored to ask Lin Yin, and only then did they force out the real answer. Hearing that his spiritual realm was severely damaged, Lin Miaomiao no longer had the heart to mourn Ji Yuanyang. She remembered how she felt when she first crossed over. She was healed in the repair cabin, but her head still ached. He was also seriously injured, but he did not enter the repair cabin for treatment. He must be in great pain. "Ji Yuang, everyone is sad about what happened to Yuanyang, but you can't ignore yourself." Lin Miaomiao's tears rolled down silently, and she choked and accused, "How are you going to avenge him if something happens to you? Do you want to leave the fleet just like that?" Yi Hongwen's heart trembled. He had been in the fleet for decades and had long been accustomed to such a life. If his spiritual realm was destroyed and he had to change his career and leave, and could no longer drive a mecha, he would probably never recover. I will go to the base's infirmary, Yi Hongwen promised with difficulty. The base's protective shield has been opened. I will go after everyone has gathered and I am sure that no one is in danger. Mother Yi nodded with tears in her eyes, but she still felt a little resentful in her heart. You are as stubborn as your father. You want to take everything on yourself, regardless of whether you can withstand it or not. Lin Miaomiao gritted her teeth and threatened. I told the baby that his father is a young captain who is both wise and brave. He will be a senior mecha commander in the future. If you selflessly ruin your body, don't blame the baby for not recognizing you after he's born. Yi Hongwen had nothing to say, and could only smile bitterly and nod. I will definitely take good care of myself. If there really comes a day when the baby no longer recognizes him as his father, he will regret it to death. The threat was successful, and Lin Miaomiao's fierce eyes instantly collapsed. He closed his eyes and sighed. I really want to be with you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762 The Road to Heaven is long, have a good journey. Yi Hongwen was about to say something when Liu Yifei and Fan Lei rushed over, carrying a mobile bed. As soon as they entered the ward, they shouted that they wanted to take him to the base's infirmary. Seeing this, Lin Miaomiao told Liu Yifei to let her know when the test results came back, and then decisively hung up the video call. With such an accident, no one was in the mood to eat. They called Xiao Jiao to clear the table, then sat on the sofa to wait for news. 20 minutes later, Liu Yifei sent a text message saying, "Boss is safe. He's suffered severe mental damage and needs to stay in the recovery chamber for 2 hours. He's not in danger of collapse." Lin Miaomiao breathed a sigh of relief after receiving the confirmed news. However, thinking that Yi Hongwen would inevitably need some rest after his treatment and would need to replenish his nutrition, she became a little obsessed, thinking that the baby in her belly had arrived at an inopportune time. If she were still on the border planet, she would be able to take good care of him. Fortunately, Lin Miaomiao was determined. She felt that it was inappropriate to have such an idea in her mind. She touched her flat belly and muttered a few words in her heart. I'm sorry, baby. It's because mommy wants to take care of daddy so much that I have such a terrible idea. The original idea of becoming a 6th level mecha technician before having a baby was just a childish idea. After the baby was born, she was very happy. How could she complain that the baby came at the wrong time? Miaomiao, are you okay? Ren Jiao called out worriedly. The eldest brother will be fine. He has always been very strong. Don't worry too much. Don't forget that you have a baby in your belly. Mother Yi, with a grim expression on her face, had just hung up the video call with Father Yi. Upon hearing this, she remembered that she shouldn't be worried about her daughter-in-law being pregnant, so she forced a smile and comforted her. Hongwen has been very smart since he was a child and will not put himself in a disadvantageous situation. Even Liang Hongyu started to persuade her. Miaomiao, now is the time for you to pay attention. Hongwen looks like a blessed young man, and he will be fine. They didn't know that Lin Miaomiao had received Liu Yifei's text message reporting safe, and they thought she was worried about the outcome over there, so she spoke to comfort her. Lin Miaomiao knew that they had misunderstood, so she shook her head and said, Yifei sent me a text message. He was just seriously injured in the mental realm. The doctor said there is no danger of collapse. Really? Mother Yi was extremely surprised. She was anxious because her son was injured. Her previous words were purely to comfort a pregnant daughter-in-law. Now that she got the news, she was naturally overjoyed. That's great, but then she was puzzled. Since she had received good news, why did her daughter-in-law still look so sad? Could it be because of Yu Yang? Yu Yang was her son's good brother. He often followed him around. It was said that he recognized his daughter-in-law as his godsister. The two had a strong brother-sister relationship. Of course, the sister would be sad when her brother sacrificed. Thinking of the domineering and handsome young man who was gone like this, Mother Yi couldn't help feeling sad, so she sat down next to her daughter-in-law, hugged her and said softly, in life, separation and death are inevitable. Your brother Yu Yang is gone. It is normal for the living to be sad, but don't keep it in your heart. Lin Miaomiao didn't want to think about it at first, but when Mother Yi brought it up, her eyes suddenly turned red again. Who said he was my brother? I didn't admit it, Mother Yi sighed. Miaomiao was a stubborn child, so she replied smoothly, okay, if you don't admit it, he's not your brother. It sounded like coaxing a child. She was 25 years old, no, 26 years old. How could she be a child? Lin Miaomiao thought unconvinced, but she hugged her mother-in-law and said in a muffled voice, if he wants to be my brother, he has to come back and get my consent. These words sounded childish. Normally, they would make people laugh, but now no one laughed, and some even had red eyes. Miaomiao, don't be sad. Ren Jiaojiao wiped her red eyes and said in a cold tone, he is willing to leave us comrades. Why should we be sad for him? If she could stay, Dr. Ji would definitely not be willing to leave. When she left Border Star, the man vowed, I want you to call me brother willingly when I come back. The words are still ringing in her ears, but the man can't come back. Lin Miaomiao's tears burst out. She buried her head in Mother Yi's arms. No one could see, but everyone could guess. Even Aunt Liu, who came out of the kitchen, hid back in her room. After crying heartily, Lin Miaomiao wiped her face with a wet tissue to hide the traces of crying, but her red eyes still betrayed her. It's best to go back to your room and take a nap after lunch. Miaomiao, you should go early. It's good for the development of the baby in your belly, Mother Yi said considerately. Lin Miaomiao really wanted to go back to her room, not to rest, but because she had just cried and looked rather disheveled. Although no one here would laugh at her, she still felt uncomfortable. Then I'll go first. You should go and have some rest too. Her mother-in-law was also frightened just now, and Lin Miaomiao buried her head in her arms and cried. She was afraid that her clothes would be wet with tears. Although she would not feel cold in such weather, she would not feel comfortable at all. Okay, Mother Yi nodded readily, and got up and went back to her room. Ren Jiaojiao hesitated for a while. She wanted to talk to her man through video, so she forced a smile at Liang Hongyu and said, Grandma Liang, I want to have some rest too. What about you? Let's go together. Liang Hongyu was bored sitting here alone. She really planned to go back to her room to have a rest. In the blink of an eye, the living room was empty. After a long time, Aunt Liu opened the half-closed door and walked out. She sighed as she looked at the 4 tightly closed doors. She had just heard what happened while eating in the kitchen. She was just a hired nanny, and it was not appropriate for her to get involved in this matter. After thinking about it, Aunt Liu opened the communicator and sent a text message to Lin Yuhei, telling the big boss about the situation. She was hired by the big boss to take care of his daughter-in-law. She was told before coming to Shaoyingsing to notify the big boss if anything serious happened here. Miaomiao and Jiaojiao were so sad. Is today's incident a big deal? Aunt Liu thought uncertainly. Lin Miaomiao, who had hidden back in her room, had no idea that the nanny Aunt Liu had become Lin's father's informant. She was washing her face with cold water that had not been used for a long time. After crying, she needed a cold compress on her eyes. After venting her sadness, Lin Miaomiao calmed down. She knew this day would come as early as the day she joined the fleet. The comrades she had been with day and night might leave one day, just like when they were in the underground palace of the Energy Star. Didn't some comrades also leave? At that time, everyone didn't get along well, and there was some dirtiness. Lin Miaomiao was not so sad. But this time, Qijing had just joined the fleet this year, and they had only been together for a few months. Even if they didn't interact much, she felt a little uncomfortable, not to mention Ji Yuang, whom she had known for nearly 10 years. She still remembered when they first met. Yi Hongwen brought a group of big eaters to eat, including Ji Yuang. There was not enough meat in the hot pot, so he grabbed it from Liu Yifei's bowl and complained that he shouldn't prepare vegetables, but all meat. One less foodie who was grabbing food should be a good thing, but Lin Miaomiao felt uncomfortable. Dr. G, the road to heaven is long, rest in peace. Chapter 763, Fire at the City Gate defects Pond Fish. Ji Yuang's funeral was held directly on the border planet. It was his own wish. Even before heading to the front lines, he joked, if I die in this battle, let me stay on the border planet forever. A member of the branch of the Ji family on Malulan Star, Ji Yuang had lost both his parents and his grandparents at a young age. He only had an uncle with whom he had a distant relationship, and he held no attachment to his family. Back then, Lin Miaomiao had looked down on him, saying, "You're just a military doctor. Staying aboard the Shenyu, how could you be in any danger? Unless something happens to the main ship, which is impossible. Our main ship is a formidable battleship." Gu Yang laughed heartily. "There's no such thing as impossible in this world. Even battleships can have accidents." His words were still fresh in his mind when the Shenyu actually crashed, and it happened to him and Kui Jing. He didn't know if that was considered a bad omen. Lin Miaomiao pursed her lips. She no longer had the energy to think about Gu Yang. Compared to those who would never come back, she was more worried about Ye Hongwen, who was injured and needed to recuperate. The doctor said that he had to rest for a while. The damage to his mental realm could not be repaired completely with repair fluids. After lying in the repair cabin in the resident infirmary for a few hours, the doctor suggested that Ye Hongwen put down his work and return to Yuansing to recuperate for a few months. He agreed, but after leaving the infirmary, he did not leave. Instead, he continued to participate in the revenge. Because of the death of Gu Yang and Kui Jing, the people of Shenyu no longer remained silent. After coming out of the repair cabin, Ye Hongwen submitted a joint letter of complaint to the military, reporting that the captain of the Shadowless Fleet was arrogant and underestimated the enemy. He did not notify other fleets when the enemy attacked, and he also withdrew the protective shield to fight, which gave the enemy an opportunity to take advantage. He demanded that the commander-in-chief be re-elected. Song Changtai and Lin Yin mobilized all their connections and resources to investigate the Imperial Mecha Division's attack on the Shenyu. There weren't just one or two warships docked at the embarkation yard, but hundreds. The Shenyu wasn't on the front or rear landing platform, let alone the center, so how could it have attracted attention? The mechas simply bombarded other rooms without checking inside to see if anyone was alive or dead. When they reached the infirmary, they stormed into the examination room and committed the attack. When Ye Hongwen and the others arrived, they were even trying to break into the other, undamaged wards. Why are they targeting the infirmary? And using the Shenyu's infirmary? Are they trying to find someone? Lin Miaomiao muttered to herself. The person the 5 Imperial Level 6 Mecha Divisions risk searching for couldn't be an ordinary person. They targeted the infirmary and didn't leave after the attack, seemingly intent on continuing their search. Could the person be in the infirmary? Who else could be in the infirmary besides a doctor? Renjiao scoffed. Maybe they've found the wrong place. No, they said the target is clear. Lin Miaomiao disagreed. Besides the doctor, there's a patient in the infirmary. As far as Lin Miaomiao knew, there was only one patient so important to the empire. And also on the Shenyu. 22nd Prince Qin Yuan, the aunt and sister-in-law answered in unison. So they were here to rescue someone. No wonder they were willing to send 5 level 6 mecha pilots to their deaths. With this guess, Lin Miaomiao couldn't wait to send a message to Ye Hongwen. Today was Gu Yang's star funeral, and she didn't know if it was over yet. It wasn't easy to video chat directly, so she had to inform him via text. Not long after the text message was sent, Ye Hongwen's video arrived. The haggard look in his eyes was gone. As a role model for everyone in the fleet, he could only grieve privately, but he couldn't let his pain show. Miaomiao, why did you think of Zhu Yuan too? Ye Hongwen asked calmly. Lin Miaomiao wasn't surprised they'd found the cause, and she'd shared her theory to verify its accuracy. Now that the answer was confirmed, she was still puzzled. With only 5 mech pilots, even if they were all level 6, how could they possibly bring the people back? Not only was there no way the mechas had gotten out of the border planet, but even if they could, using them to bring the people back to Watch Planet wouldn't be possible. The 2 Imperial warships outside the border planet had already been destroyed. Ye Hongwen pondered for a moment, then suddenly said something strange. We didn't intend to bring them back. Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Why would they come looking if they didn't intend to bring them back? These matters weren't secrets, and seeing that she wanted to know, Ye Hongwen simply revealed everything. They're here to silence us. The empire was in turmoil, and the princes within the country were forming their own factions, fighting fiercely. One prince was hit by a car on his way home, another had his arm chopped off while drinking tea, and another prince's wife and son were kidnapped. None of the princes lived in peace. In just 2 weeks, 3 died and 2 were crippled. Only the 22nd prince, captured by Shenyu, enjoyed a relatively comfortable existence. Though in the hands of the enemy, his life was safe. The crippled princes were destined for the throne. Even with flexible cloned limbs, they were still fake, and the civil and military officials would not support them. Thus, while the 2 crippled princes saved their lives, They also lost their purpose in life. The two crippled princes, now idle, sought to cause trouble for their fellow aspirants, but with few available resources. To avoid intrusion and the prospect of death, they targeted the captive Zhu Yuan. Why is he still living so well even though we're all crippled? The crippled prince's resentment was overwhelming, and they were determined to end Zhu Yuan's prosperity, leading to the attack on the star. After hearing about the feuds among the imperial princes, Lin Miaomiao had only one thing to say: your social world is truly chaotic. He had no chance of becoming emperor, yet instead of cultivating his character and praying for the future ruler of the empire to be more lenient, he was jealous of the captives. What a righteous brotherhood! I'll make note of this, Yi Hongwen said. When the city gate is on fire, the fish in the pond are affected. Lin Miaomiao felt a pang of resentment. She had captured Zhu Yuan, but it had cost Ji Yuang his life. If she had known, she would not have taken any prisoners. What good would it be to capture more prisoners, or to exchange more for more? It wouldn't save those two young lives. Miaomiao, don't let your imagination run wild, Yi Hongwen asked softly. How have you been these past 2 days? Have you been obedient and taking care of your pregnancy? Of course I have, Lin Miaomiao answered seriously, but with a hint of guilt. In truth, she had been a bit restless these past few days, grief-stricken over Ji Yuang's death and worried about Yi Hongwen's grief. She bottled up all her grief, and as a result, she had eaten less. Yi Hongwen could see the guilty look in her eyes, but he didn't expose her. Instead, he said softly, you should take good care of your baby. What's happening on the front line has nothing to do with you right now. Chapter 764, Change of Situation. Yi Hongwen tried to soothe his wife with gentle words, as if coaxing a child, but his inexperience meant he was unable to do so. How can it be okay? Lin Miaomiao argued. You need to recuperate, but you won't come back. I'm worried. The station military doctors advised him to put aside his duties and return to Yuanxing to recuperate, but he ignored them. As soon as he left the infirmary, he returned to the Shenaiyu to take over the aftermath of the assassination. After submitting a joint request to the military to replace the commander-in-chief, tensions between Wu Ying and Shenaiyu began to mount. Wu Ying's captain, Zhu Bin, resented Yi Hongwen but dared not speak publicly. Instead, he secretly harassed Shenaiyu. For example, he cut off the hot water in Shenaiyu's dormitory, cut off the energy supply to the cafeteria, and instigated other fleets to seize the main exercise ground. These were minor infractions, and once the Shenaiyu crew members noticed and protested, everything returned to normal. Zhu Bin, in the wrong, could only slightly annoy the Shenaiyu crew, not retaliate openly. Of course, if there was a way to bring Yi Hongwen down, Zhu Bin wouldn't hesitate. Fortunately, Zhu Bin's quest for revenge against Yi Hongwen and Shen Yu lacked any formidable allies. After a joint petition for a replacement of commander-in-chief was submitted to the military, his title as commander-in-chief was stripped, and even his duties as captain of the Wu Ying were suspended. Zhu Bin, despite his mediocre abilities, was headstrong and somewhat ambitious, constantly seizing control of the fleet. He abused and scolded his men at will, and was also somewhat lecherous, wanting to sleep with any attractive female soldier and expelling them if they disagreed. Few people on the Wu Ying liked him. He was recently assassinated by a traitor, and many on the Wu Ying team lamented the fate of this shameless captain. The period when Yan Wangxun was acting as Wu Ying's deputy was a comfortable one for the crew, but it wasn't long-lasting. Zhu Bin returned, plunging everyone back into dire straits. A few days ago, Zhu Bin's poor decision-making not only allowed the Imperial Mecha Division to intrude upon the base, but also cost the lives of a warship and hundreds of crew members due to his inept command. This was the main reason why Yi Hongwen's application was approved by the military the moment it was submitted. 5 warships against 2, it took half an hour, and one was even shot down, Lin Miaomiao marveled. This pig captain is truly a remarkable person. Captain Zhu is indeed remarkable, especially when it comes to betraying his teammates, Yi Hongwen agreed calmly. It was just a small battle, but the loss of a large warship and nearly 600 mecha warriors was a complete failure for this commander. Lin Miaomiao snorted. This is what a pig does. Knowing that Zhu Bin is not doing well, she felt relieved. But then she thought again, and she became worried. Yi Hongwen needed to recuperate due to the damage to his mental realm, but he was obsessed with Ji Yuang's revenge. The culprit was hiding on the Empire's heavily guarded Imperial Star, and he had no chance of revenge. Worried but reluctant to rush him back, Lin Miaomiao also harbored vengeance for Ji Yuang. Though she wouldn't admit it, she considered the quack doctor a brother. How could a sister forget her brother's murder? After hesitating for a moment, Lin Miaomiao finally got to the point. How are you going to handle the matter of Ji the quack doctor? Yi Hongwen's eyes darkened, and after a long pause, he said coldly, of course, blood debt must be repaid with blood. Neither of them mentioned Qi Jing. It wasn't that they were cold-blooded, but to them, a military doctor who had only been with the fleet for a few months was just a teammate. They hadn't been together long enough to develop a close relationship. They would avenge her, but not when they themselves were seriously injured. Ji Yuang, on the other hand, was different. He had followed Ji Hongwen from the Grand Fleet to the last place Shenaiyu Fleet. For over a decade, their brotherhood was like that of a real brother. He, along with Liu Yifei, Luo Cheng, Wu Xin, Wen Zixi, Fan Lei, and others, were close friends who spent every day together. If anything happened to them, Yi Hongwen wouldn't sit idly by. It's just that I can't get on the mecha. With so many teammates and comrades here, it's not my turn to take action, Yi Hongwen said confidently. I just need to stay here and watch my brothers avenge Yuang. I can't take action against a culprit now, but it's no problem to get some interest back. Although Lin Miaomiao was worried about his health, she also knew that she shouldn't pour cold water on him, so she nodded to encourage him. Come on. One day, the culprit will pay the price. With the support of his wife, Yi Hongwen finally showed a smile on his face, and sighed softly. Miaomiao, thank you. If it were someone else, they might not understand his decision. They would only blame him for disregarding his own health to seek revenge, and might even pester him to go back early. Why thank you? Lin Miaomiao knew what he meant, but she raised her chin and said angrily, you're not the only one who wants revenge, I want it too. Yi Hongwen didn't want to say anything more, only earnestly urging his wife to take good care of herself. I'll be back with you in a few days. Once he had perfected his plan and arranged everything, he would be able to return. Lin Miaomiao simply assumed he wanted to collect some interest first before returning, and figuring it wouldn't be long, she happily agreed. After that day, Yi Hongwen became busy again. He rarely video-called Lin Miaomiao, and when they did, they were barely a few words. This worried his mother, fearing that her son was too busy to properly recover. Not long after, Lin Miaomiao heard that the Shenaiyu fleet had jumped through the space node under the pretext of returning the 22nd prince and seeking peace. Because they had made Zhu Yuan public, they were not attacked upon leaving the node. The empire was already riven by internal turmoil, and Zhu Yuan's return further muddied the waters. The situation on the Imperial Star was roiled, and even the two crippled princes faced several assassination attempts. After returning Zhu Yuan, Chen Yu didn't rush back to the border star, but waited at the other end of the space node. Soon, Yan Wingsun arrived with over 300 warships and launched a joint attack on Wangdi Star. Meanwhile, the remaining fleets on Border Star staged a massive relocation, moving their surveillance satellites to the vacant Wangdian Star, effectively occupying the Empire's former frontier. The Imperial base on Wangdian Star had long been destroyed by Federation bombing. Fleet captains, unwilling to endure the elements, had to rest aboard their warships. Then, they hired a large number of construction robots from the planet closest to Border Star. Within 2 days, they had erected a few simple buildings, serving as dormitories, a cafeteria, an infirmary, and other crucial areas. Planets without shields are dangerous. With buildings as support, the necessary shields must be deployed. To prevent the Imperial fleet from disrupting the planet, Shen Yu and his fleet launched a surprise attack on Wangdi Star before retreating to node to defend it. Wangdian Star will belong to the Federation from now on, Yi Hongwen told his wife. This is just a small profit. The good days of the culprit who harmed Yuang are over. Lin Miaomiao smiled and nodded. The culprit's target was the 22nd prince. If he returned, he would definitely not let go of the person who wanted to take his life. Chapter 765, Triumphant Return. The 6th Imperial Alliance War lasted from early July to the end of December. 22nd Prince Zhu Yuan prematurely deposed his father and changed his name to Heian. After barely reconquering the shattered empire, he ascended the throne. On the 3rd day of his accession, the empire submitted a peace treaty to the Federation. Since it was a peace treaty, the Federation naturally had to return the imperial prisoners it had held for months. Faced with the eager anticipation of the people, Emperor Heian gritted his teeth and exchanged tens of thousands of prisoners for dozens of tons of energy ore. When the question of Wang Yin's star was brought up, the Federation evaded the question. Wang Yin's star had long since become the Federation's new frontier, renamed Hope Star. It was already a treasure trove, so how could they bear to return it? In addition to Hope Star and dozens of tons of energy ore, the Empire also gave 100 large warships as compensation for provoking the war and breaking the peace treaty. Of course, the Federation, no one lacking courtesy, generously returned the favor with 100 lifelike robots. The Imperial Alliance War started and ended suddenly. Before the people of the Federation could come to their senses, representatives of both sides had already signed the peace agreement. On the first day of the new year, except for the endless fleet that stayed behind on Hope Star, all other fleets were ready to return home. As soon as the Shenyu broke through the atmosphere and left Hope Star, Lin Miaomiao received the news. She was so happy that she couldn't express it in words. But she said to Yi Hongwen, who was eager to go home, in a proud and arrogant manner, "You just returned? You are not about to arrive. Why are you in such a hurry to tell me? Do you want me to go to the dock and wait for you every day?" Yi Hongwen was speechless. When did his wife learn the skill of saying one thing and thinking another? Her eyes were shining brightly, but she despised him for sending the news too early. As if ready to offer a stern rebuke, Yi Hongwen's eyes caught sight of his wife's dreadfully bulging belly. He chuckled, "Miaomiao, don't be angry. I'm just so happy to be back with you. I wanted to share the good news with you." Lin Miaomiao wrinkled her nose and muttered, somewhat disapprovingly, "The baby's already over 5 months old. He's used to being without his dad. It doesn't make any difference whether you come back or not." 3 months had passed since Ji Yuany's departure. Yi Hongwen had finally, through Ziyuan, dealt with the culprit. Captain Zubin, the shadowless warship, had resigned due to the tragic loss of 600 mecha pilots. This outcome was a vengeance for his friend, but Yi Hongwen still had a lingering qualm. If there had been an extra pilot on duty that day, would his friend still be alive? Unfortunately, there were no ifs. It was precisely because of this hurdle that Yi Hongwen decided to use the trauma to his mental realm as an excuse to rest for 2 months, even though his injuries had long since healed. At 8 o'clock in the evening of January 4th, with the Shenyu leading the way, a total of 14 warships landed at the Shenyu base's boarding platform. Lin Miaomiao, with her big belly, stood at the boarding gate to greet them. Next to her stood Ren Jiaojiao, who was also pregnant. Everyone on the Shenyu disembarked one after another. Lin Miaomiao's aunt and sister-in-law couldn't help but look at her big belly. After seeing it, they were a little surprised. "Miaomiao, why is your belly bigger than Jiaojiao's?" "It must be Jiaojiao's baby is bigger." Lin Miaomiao blinked and explained with a wooden face, "My baby is stronger. He will definitely be better at fighting than my nephew in the future." Everyone was skeptical, and the experienced female soldiers advised her to eat less. A big baby would be bad for delivery. Although the cesarean section technology is now advanced, why not have a natural birth? "Is that so?" Lin Miaomiao agreed solemnly. "Then I'll eat less from now on." "Bah," Ren Jiaojiao spat. "You're just talking nonsense. Your baby's strong? You're kidding. Why didn't you just say you had another baby?" Ren Jiaojiao was furious. She'd clearly gotten pregnant first, yet her sister-in-law was pregnant with 2 babies at once, and even accused her of being weak and unable to win a fight. It was unbearable. But Lin Miaomiao felt deeply wronged. "Since I have 2, I can definitely beat you with just 1. Her sister-in-law's argument was so reasonable that Ren Jiaojiao was speechless. While the sister-in-law and her sister-in-law engaged in a lively bickering, the crew members disembarking from the Shenyu were stunned. What did the 2 babies in the belly signify? It meant the captain's wife was pregnant with twins, and that 2 little captains would be born in a few months. Many of the crew members gazed reverently at Lin Miaomiao's belly, and the female members were eager to touch it and share in the joy. These days, female fertility is relatively low, and twins and multiple births are rare. Even if they do occur, they are mostly IVF. Naturally conceived twins are as rare as giant pandas in the 21st century. As soon as Yi Hongwen stepped out of the ship and saw his wife coming to pick him up, his heart warmed. The duplicitous little thing, who had said she wouldn't come to pick him up, had finally come. Just as he was about to go forward and hug his wife, before he could push through the crowd to enter, he heard earth-shattering news that practically blew him away. He reached out and pinched the arm of Liu Yifei, who was happily huddled next to him. Only after hearing a shrill howl did he confirm that he was not dreaming. His icy face cracked instantly, replaced by a silly smile. Yi Hongwen pushed through the crowd with brute force and shouted in a deep voice, "Why are you crowding here? You're blocking the passage." Someone protested dissatisfiedly, "What's the rush? Are you rushing to reincarnate? Don't you know that the captain's wife is pregnant with twins? Let me touch her and get some good news first." "Touch her?" The silly smile on Yi Hongwen's face froze, and he shouted loudly, "Touch you big-headed ghosts. She's my wife, who allowed you to touch her?" Everyone was stunned. Did the captain always wait until everyone had gotten off before coming out? Why was he acting differently this time? He was finished. He was caught by the captain while touching his wife's belly. What should he do? Song Changte, who was following behind Yi Hongwen, was more reliable. His team members were frightened, so he cleared his throat and came to their rescue. "Everyone has worked hard on the border star for several months. Go back to the dormitory and rest. If you are hungry, go to the cafeteria for a midnight snack. There is no training tomorrow. The specific number of days of rest will be subject to the captain's notice." Everyone agreed in unison. They no longer dared to take advantage of the pregnant woman and ran across the lake as fast as they could, fearing that the boss would speak up to stop them. "The boss is so awesome," Li Enho joked with a smile. He scared everyone into hiding with just one sentence. But old Song is too soft-hearted. Seeing that others were scared, he couldn't help but offer warmth. Yi Hongwen raised an eyebrow. He was treating him like a monster. It was obvious that he was in the right. He silently walked over to Lin Miaomiao, reached out and grasped his wife's hand, and glared at Li Enho. "Old Li, do you have any objections to me?" It didn't matter if he had any. Yi Hongwen considered himself a reasonable captain and would listen humbly to his subordinates' opinions, of course, provided they were good ones. Li Enho exchanged glances with this young man, more than 20 years his junior, and instantly deflated. He turned around and headed back to the dormitory. If he couldn't afford to provoke him, couldn't he just avoid him? Chapter 766, Couple Reunion. The reunited couple should have gone home sweetly, cuddling each other, but unfortunately Yi Hongwen could not feel this atmosphere at all. "Miaomiao, don't you think you should explain?" Yi Hongwen asked calmly. A large number of onlookers disappeared in a few seconds, and even her sister-in-law was taken away by her brother. Lin Miaomiao was annoyed to find that she was reduced to fighting alone. "How disloyal," Lin Miaomiao muttered indignantly, selectively ignoring her man's words. "Well, everyone has run away, so we should go back too." Yi Hongwen thought for a moment. He already knew about this and was not in a hurry to get an answer, so he nodded. "Okay, let's talk about it when we get back." Lin Miaomiao pouted. This man was too petty. It was wrong to hide the fact that she was pregnant with twins, but didn't she want to give him a surprise? Even if she took a step back, it was not just her who knew about it. Her parents-in-law, sister-in-law, and Grandma Liang were all aware of it. If he wanted to settle the score, he should hold on to her. Confident, Lin Miaomiao held her head high and followed her husband home. This home, of course, wasn't the garrison's dormitories, but her apartment, where she'd lived for several months. It was her own private space, so it wasn't an exaggeration to call it home. As soon as the couple entered, Liang Hongao greeted them with a beaming smile. "Come over for dinner. We'll be waiting for you." Mother Yi had returned to Zhangyang Star 3 months after her daughter-in-law's pregnancy. Yi Hongying wasn't yet an adult, so she needed an adult to take care of her. With Liang Hongao around, there was nothing to worry about. Lin Xianhao and his wife had left first and were now seated at the table. Aunt Liu was nowhere to be seen, likely eating at a small table in the kitchen. Aunt Liu had been working there for several months, adept at both caring for pregnant women and cooking. She was a bit timid, though, and refused to eat at the same table with them. She would wait until they finished and then eat from leftovers. Lin Miaomiao's repeated attempts to persuade her were fruitless, so she could only ask her to share a portion of the food. 5 people sat down at the table. Liang Hongao looked at Lin Miaomiao and his wife on the left, and Lin Xianhao and his wife on the right, and her eyes narrowed immediately. "I, an old woman, should go to the kitchen to accompany Aunt Liu, so as not to be a light bulb here." Ren Jiao was staring at the steamed asparagus with rice flour in front of her and drooling. She was unhappy when she heard it. "Grandma Liang, what are you talking about? Xianhao and I are an old married couple. It doesn't matter whether there is a light bulb or not. But you suddenly bring up this. Are you jealous? If you're jealous, just find one. Lin Miaomiao continued smoothly. Anyway, you are still young. It's better to find a companion. Liang Hongyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Her grandson was in his 20s. How could you be said to be young? These kids just knew how to make fun of people. Liang Hongyu never had the upper hands in verbal arguments. Teasing the two juniors, she could only consider herself unlucky. She grabbed her spoon and began scooping up soup. Hurry up and eat. It's getting cold. It was just a way to deflect the conversation. Lin Miaomiao understood, but didn't bother to point it out. After Grandma Liang and little brother Lin returned to Milaolanstar, she briefly thought Grandma Liang and old man would reconcile, but later realized she was overthinking it. Liang Hongyu was only in her 70s, barely halfway through her life, considering the average lifespan for interstellar residents. Finding a partner was understandable, but she was completely devoted to little brother Lin, showing no interest in old man Lin, her first love. As for old man Lin, he was used to going to work every day to drink tea, chat, and play chess with his old friends. On a whim, he'd go to the nearby fantasy rain fleet for a stroll. At night, when he didn't want to go home, he'd stay in the company lounge. His life was so carefree that he hardly even thought about his first love. The two elders were no longer on speaking terms, and the fun they'd hoped to see was over. Lin Miaomiao sighed regretfully, picking up her small bowl of rice and saying, "Grandma Liang, you're always like this. You always like to tease us, and then you change the subject." Liang Hongyu sipped her soup from her bowl, paying no attention to Lin Miaomiao at all, as if she were serving a truly exquisite delicacy, her concentration putting anyone who'd been distracted to shame. Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojiao pouted at each other, seeing her acting up again. But Grandma Liang ignored them, and no amount of nagging was enough. They could only sigh and unhappily eat their late dinner. Fortunately, they were both generous enough not to dig out gossip from Grandma Liang and focused on eating. Aunt Leah was a good cook, not much worse than Lin Miaomiao, but she only knew how to make home-cooked meals. Her recipes were limited, and she kept repeating the same few dishes over and over again, becoming a bit bored after a few months. Yi Hongwen picked up a piece of fish, put the bones in his own bowl, and gave it to Lin Miaomiao. "If you like fish, eat more. I'll pick out the bones for you, Captain Yi, you're the best," Lin Miaomiao said while eating. In Miaomiao's eyes, as long as you feed her delicious food, everyone is probably the best, Ren Jiaojiao said sourly with a hint of meaning. The cold boss loves his wife so much that he picks out the bones when picking up fish, but her Lin Xianhao is like a wooden man, eating happily by himself. Not to mention picking out fish bones, he can't even pick up vegetables. Lin Miaomiao looked up and gave her sister-in-law a heart-wrenching blow without any hesitation. "A good man needs to be taught. Complaining is useless. You should teach your brother a lesson." "Teach me?" Lin Xianhao looked around blankly and asked his wife cautiously, "Did I do anything wrong? He didn't make any mistakes, so why did he bring up the topic of teaching?" "Pregnant women are really strange," Lin Xianhao secretly complained. Lin Miaomiao found it amusing and deliberately asked her brother, "Brother, are you that hungry? Why don't you pick up some food for your sister-in-law?" "Pick up some food?" Lin Xianhao was a little confused. "She has hands and feet, why does she need my help to pick up some food?" Ren Jiaojiao's face darkened. This old man didn't understand the romance between husband and wife. After being married for several years, he still didn't understand the slightest bit of romance. Isn't it a way for a couple to cultivate romance by picking up food for each other? But he said that people with hands and feet can have enough food and clothing. "I'm full." Ren Jiaojiao put down her bowl and chopsticks heavily and slowly got up, holding her waist. "I'm going to rest first." Lin Xianhao was stunned. "Why don't you eat any more?" "Jiaojiao, you didn't eat much?" "No, I'm full of anger because of you." Ren Jiaojiao left without looking back. Lin Xianhao was dumbfounded. "Jiaojiao, are you tired? Why is she angry for no reason?" Yi Hongwen squinted at his brother-in-law. He was usually a smart man, but why did he act so stupid in front of his wife? "Brother, you are so stupid." Lin Miaomiao looked at him with a miserable look. "It's normal for close people to pick up food for each other when they eat together. You didn't even pick up food for your sister-in-law. Instead, you made a big deal out of it and said that she had hands and feet and didn't need help to pick up food. How could your sister-in-law not be angry?" Lin Xianhao was embarrassed. He had no experience in picking up food for others, and answered like this subconsciously. He didn't expect to make his wife angry. He had to admit his mistake quickly. Chapter 767, Long Lost Tenderness. After dinner, Lin Miaomiao returned to her room, her belly bulging. Yi Hongwen followed her silently. The long-unreunited couple didn't have much to say. Video chat was so convenient, they could talk at any time. Lin Miaomiao returned to her room and showered in the bathroom as usual. Although it was winter, the cold wind outside the window didn't reach the room, so she wasn't worried about getting cold from showering every day. But today, as soon as she entered the bathroom, Yi Hongwen followed her in, saying, "Your belly is too big to rub your back. Let me help you. Bathing is a private matter, but for a close couple, it's okay to bathe together." Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes and didn't object. Bathing with a big belly was indeed a hassle, especially with her baby only 5 months old. "I'll give you a chance to serve me," Lin Miaomiao said generously. It was supposed to be a back scrub, but bathing someone else inevitably got their clothes wet. Yi Hongwen had only rubbed his wife's back a few times when he soaked his own. He simply took off his towel and took a bath with her. Although the bathroom was large, it only had one shower head. 2 people showering at the same time would easily cause friction, which could easily lead to a mishap. Lin Miaomiao, heavily pregnant, immediately regretted it. "I'm pregnant," Lin Miaomiao said, her face expressionless, staring intently at Captain Yi's handsome face. "Yes, you're pregnant," Yi Hongwen replied casually. He had known about this for a long time, so there was no need to get too excited. He kissed his wife on the forehead. "It's been 5 months," Lin Miaomiao suppressed her anger and reminded her. Her belly was so big, and someone kept biting her. He was simply too hungry to eat. If he didn't even mind a pregnant woman, he wouldn't have been biting her while she was away at the front lines. Lin Miaomiao was furious and considered whether to ask someone for information. Yi Hongwen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What are you imagining? I treat you this way too well," Lin Miaomiao hummed, feigning distrust, but inside she was as happy as if she had drunk honey. "I can't run around right now, so I'll trust you for now," Lin Miaomiao said calmly. "You must continue to maintain your good moral character in the future." Yi Hongwen thought to himself that his wife who said one thing and meant another was quite adorable, but he agreed without hesitation. "Of course I will keep myself clean, but holding it in for too long is harmful to my health. Shouldn't my wife reward me?" Lin Miaomiao's ears turned red. "We can talk about this later, okay?" She still had 2 little ones in her belly, so how could she fool around with a man? What if she got hurt? She didn't want to hurt the babies for a moment of pleasure. Yi Hongwen didn't want to, and he said calmly, "I've asked a military doctor. Except for the first 3 months and the last 3 months, you can exercise appropriately at other times as long as the baby is fine." "You asked the military doctor?" Lin Miaomiao could no longer remain calm, and her voice instantly rose several degrees. Captain Yi was too shameless to ask others about such a shameful thing. "Yes, military doctors are more experienced," Yi Hongwen nodded nonchalantly, not noticing the shyness in his wife's eyes at all, and only concentrating on nibbling her. After not seeing her for a few months, how come his wife is more fragrant and softer? Making him unable to stop his mouth, wishing he could swallow her into his stomach in one gulp. "Let me go. You shameless bastard. Exercise between husband and wife is good for cultivating feelings. What's there to be ashamed of?" Lin Miaomiao tried every means to escape from Captain Yi's wolf mouth, but she was reluctant to do so, and ended up playing the role of wanting to refuse but also to welcome. After struggling for a long time, she still couldn't escape, so she could only give up and lean on him. "I'm tired. The bathroom floor is very slippery." Yi Hongwen's eyes lit up, and his wife finally let go. He immediately washed off the bubbles on both of their bodies carefully, and didn't even bother to wrap them with a bath towel, and directly carried them out. On the first night after returning, Yi Hongwen bit his wife from head to toe, but because of her big belly, he didn't dare to bite too hard, so he could only taste it lightly. After the couple's life, Yi Hongwen, who had tasted the sweetness, was satisfied and took his wife back to the bathroom to take a second bath together. During this time, he ate a few mouthfuls of tender tofu. Lin Miaomiao was afraid that he would not stop, so she opened her mouth and bit his shoulder fiercely, leaving a deep tooth mark before letting go and threatening, "If you keep pushing it, I will bite off the meat and make soup." Yi Hongwen directly put his strong arm to her mouth. "Bite it, don't be polite." In order to please his wife, A few bites of meat are nothing, just bite it. Captain Yi, who had become shameless after not seeing each other for a few months, scared his wife. Why have you become like this? Wouldn't Yi Bingshan be changed to Yi Wulei in the future? It was the second time for them to take a bath together, and it didn't take much effort. After the bath, Yi Hongwen didn't go straight to the big bed like before, but took a dry towel to dry his wife's whole body, and took a clean nightgown from the shelf for her to wear. After taking care of his wife, she wiped herself hastily and put on a nightgown. After everything was tidy, he carried her back to bed and covered her with a duvet. Aren't you going to sleep yet? Lin Miaomiao tried to open her eyes wide to stay awake. I need to wait before I go to sleep. Yi Hongwen touched her little face and explained softly, the bathroom floor is too slippery, I'll go clean it up. His wife was pregnant, and it would be terrible if she slipped when she got up at night. He had to clean it up before he could feel at ease. Lin Miaomiao covered her mouth and yawned slightly. Her eyelids were gradually closing. She muttered in a half-asleep state, hurry up and pack up. You need to get a good rest after being on the warship for a few days, okay? Yi Hongwen nodded hurriedly. He also wanted to rest early. It had been a long time since he slept with his sweet and soft wife. Thinking of this, Yi Hongwen rushed into the bathroom excitedly, packed up quickly, and went back to the bed to sleep in the empty seat. At this time, Lin Miaomiao had already fallen into a sweet dream. She was lying on her side on the soft bed. She was lying facing Yi Hongwen, so it was not easy to hold her in his arms. Yi Hongwen looked at his wife's peaceful sleeping face with regret. After all, he was unwilling to go empty-handed, so he grabbed her little hand and held it, lying face to face with her. After Lin Miaomiao left the border star, Yi Hongwen felt empty inside, always thinking about whether she was doing well and whether she felt bored. He had had this feeling before, but it was just that they were apart for less time and it was not so obvious. This is probably what it means to be deeply in love. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hongwen's mouth. He wanted to kiss his wife on the face, but regretfully found that her belly was too big, affecting his mouth. So he let go of her little hand, sat up, and leaned down. Just as he got his mouth closed to her, Lin Miaomiao suddenly turned over, and the duck in his mouth flew away. Yi Hongwen shook his head helplessly. If his wife had not been sleeping soundly, he would have thought she did it on purpose. But it was good this way, as he could hold his wife to sleep again. Chapter 768, Concern and Confusion. Yi Hongwen decided to take a 2-month leave, but he returned to the fleet the next day. There were still many things he needed to do after returning to base, and he couldn't afford to take a sabbatical. Shen Yu had indeed performed meritorious service on the front lines, but nothing could go as planned on the battlefield. Even with a low casualty rate, they had lost 237 teammates, including Jiu Yang and Kui Jing. Some were reduced to ash, forever lost in space, while others crashed into the asteroid belt and were never found. Only 193 were brought back. Now that they were back, Yi Hongwen and the other senior officers in the fleet had to make sure the fallen were properly cared for. Families of those whose bodies were found had to be brought back, and those whose bodies were missing had to be informed. Death is the most painful thing, and if the notification was not done correctly, the families wouldn't be able to handle it, and it would be disastrous if further incidents occurred. Lin Miaomiao was pregnant with twins, and Ren Jiaojiao was 7 months pregnant. Neither could tolerate further stress. Yi Hongwen regretted his impulsiveness in revealing Jiu Yang's story last time. Yi Hongwen, intent on concealing the truth, attempted to trick the two into visiting the Lin family compound in Milulan. However, his attempt to summon them back through a video message sent by Lin's father failed, as Lin Xianhao accidentally leaked the information. In reality, it wasn't Lin Xianhao's fault, it was simply the cunning enemy, Ren Jiaojiao, with a father who had experienced the Federation's wars as a marshal, knew the dangers of battle. The war began as a farce, but with the tacit approval of both sides' top brass, it intensified. Especially after the Federation's traitor and the bombing of the Wangyiwingxing Empire's headquarters, neither side showed any mercy. Casualties were to be expected, and even Lin Miaomiao hadn't been under any illusions. After news of Jiu Yang's death reached her, she knew Shen Yu's return would bring bad news. When Yi Hongwen and Lin Xianhao disembarked from the warship, Lin Miaomiao didn't want to spoil the joy of their long-awaited reunion, so she kept silent. But the day after their return, she and her sister-in-law cornered her eldest brother in the bathroom. As for the question of what happened in the bathroom, Lin Miaomiao could only say that she didn't want to, but her brother was too slippery and actually tried to sneak out to avoid the topic, so they had no choice but to resort to this last resort. Upon learning that 237 people had died in the fleet, Lin Miaomiao gasped. When they first joined the fleet, there were only so many people. They sacrificed so many people and they said the casualty rate was low. How could it be low? Among these people, except for Ji Yuang, none of them were as close to Lin Miaomiao as brothers. The only ones she was familiar with were Zhang Sanbao and Xiao Zir. One of them had a simple and pragmatic personality, and the other was an old classmate. She had a lot of contact with them, and Lin Miaomiao was very sad when she learned of their deaths. Just when he was furious, Lin Miaomiao's communicator rang. Lin Yuhe said to his daughter dryly, "Miaomiao, you haven't been home for a long time, right? Don't you want to go home and stay with daddy for a while?" Lin Miaomiao looked at her father in surprise. When they video chatted 2 days ago, he told her that she should take good care of the baby and not go to the newly opened passenger ship terminal to cause trouble. It would not be good to run around with a big belly. Why did he want her to go home and visit today? So many teammates have sacrificed their lives. The fleet will definitely hold a collective memorial service. Even if Lin Miaomiao was surprised by her father's abnormality, she would not agree to go back to Milulan now, so she refused. "Dad, I will go back to see you in a few days. I will stay at home with my sister-in-law for a few more days then." They were fortunate to join the same fleet, from strangers to close teammates. Even if there were dirty tricks in their daily lives, they would disappear before life and death. She had to see these sacrificed teammates off. Lin Yuhe was stunned. His daughter had actually rejected his proposal. Although he didn't approve of his son-in-law's actions, he was also worried that his daughter, pregnant with twins, would not be able to withstand the pressure. So he agreed to it, but then he thought about being rejected. Lin Yuhe could see that his daughter was upset, and his heart instantly lifted. Could the news have been exposed? After a few seconds of hesitation, Dad Lin asked decisively, "Do you know?" He didn't say it directly, but he was deliberately testing his daughter. It would be bad if his daughter didn't know yet and was exposed by his words. Lin Miaomiao was too lazy to argue with her father. When he asked, she simply nodded. "Of course I have to know what I should know. Even if I'm pregnant, it's not a reason not to see them off. If I'm heartless, I'll be criticized in the future." "Don't talk nonsense," Lin Yuhe scolded with a fierce face. "You are a special case. Even if you don't go, you have a legitimate reason. How can you be scolded? And your sister-in-law is the same. She's 7 months pregnant and it's almost time to give birth. She can't be tired," Lin Miaomiao groaned. "We're just going to see someone off. How can we be tired?" "That's right." Ren Jiao came over and agreed seriously. "The base is close to where we live. We'll go after it starts. We'll only see off the teammates who died." Lin Yuhe was at his wit's end. His daughter was smart and kind. Judging from the current situation, it was impossible to coax her back. His daughter-in-law was also stubborn, and it was even more impossible for her to come back. It seemed that he could only do as they wished. If he just didn't persuade them to go back, wouldn't a video call be in vain? Lin Yuhe was unhappy at the thought of wasting time and communication fees, which would have been a waste of effort. Businessmen never like to lose money, so he said with a stern face, "Go there later on the day to avoid standing for a long time. Don't go to crowded places. When you're done, go home and stay for a few days." Lin Miaomiao nodded randomly, seemingly taking his instructions to heart, but it went in one ear and out the other. She only promised Lin's father, "I'll go back to my room and sleep early after the memorial service." Her well-behaved appearance melted Lin Yuhe's heart. Lin Yuhe failed to lure his daughter and daughter-in-law home, and immediately sent a text message to his son-in-law. The text message listed more than a dozen reasons why the mission had not been completed, the most important of which was, the two girls already know the news. There's no point in hiding it any longer. Yi Hongwen arranged to send team members to various places to deliver the news at the base. When he received the text message, he just sighed. They all knew the news, and it was impossible to get them to leave. There was no need for him to waste his efforts. After pondering for a moment, Yi Hongwen sent a message back to his father-in-law. Miaomiao just learned that so many teammates had sacrificed their lives. She must be feeling down. "I'm busy and can't get away. If Dad is free, please help cheer her up." Lin Yuhe replied in a few seconds, "My daughter is not a delicate flower. She can handle any hardship. She will consider the baby in her belly. As Lin Miaomiao's bedside, Yi Hongwen knew that his father-in-law was right. It was also because he was too concerned and didn't think too deeply about it. When Yu Yang died, Miaomiao was as close as brother and sister. When he died, Miaomiao was sad but didn't neglect her own body. She just cried and vented her negative emotions. This time shouldn't be too bad. I'll comfort her when I go back at noon. Yi Hongwen made a decision and then put the matter aside and continued to bury himself in work. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769 Pension. No matter what, plans can never keep up with changes. Yi Hongwen had made good plans, intending to return home at noon to comfort his wife, but he was so busy he didn't even have time for lunch, and could only drink a bottle of nutrient solution. Besides sending someone to the families of the fallen teammates to report the news, they also had to discuss compensation for those who died. The families of the martyrs had to be compensated. The military actually had a standard compensation for teammates killed on the battlefield. 200,000 credits for each family member. 200,000 sounds like a lot, but in this world, that amount is only enough to feed a family for a decade, and that's just a standard. It's impossible to afford daily feasts, let alone send children to college. The Shenyu fleet is relatively young, and the majority of those who died were in their 30s. The vast majority were unmarried and childless, but a small number were married and had children. Those children lost their fathers before they knew anything, and their futures were uncertain. Yi Hongwen led the 3 lieutenants and 9 team leaders to a meeting. He first reviewed the personal files of the fallen teammates, then said coldly, "I called you here to discuss the compensation. The military's standard is 200,000 credits per teammate. What do you think?" Everyone looked at each other, unsure how to respond. They were busy dealing with follow-up matters and had no time to think about so many things. The meeting room was quiet. No one spoke first, no one offered any opinions, and everyone seemed a little overwhelmed. Yi Hongwen frowned. With so many people here, no one had any feasible suggestions? Did he have to ask everyone one by one? Yifei, Yi Hongwen called out directly. "You're usually quite talkative. Tell me your suggestions this time." "Well, I don't know how to understand these things," Liu Yifei said with a bitter face. It was okay for him to fight, but it would be a real pain to ask him to deal with these things. Liu Yifei had no suggestions to offer, and Yi Hongwen, though displeased, could do nothing but purse his lips and continue naming the next name. "Zixi, as a military officer in the fleet, you should have some ideas, right?" This wasn't a difficult or easy matter. The compensation was set by the military, and asking for an increase was out of the question. After all, more members of the other fleets had died in the Imperial Alliance War than Shenyu. Paying so much compensation at once would be a daunting task for the military, and it was unclear how long the negotiations with the finance department would take to get the money. When Zixi thought for a moment, then asked directly, "Boss, you want to increase the compensation for the fallen members to make life better for the martyrs' families, right?" Yi Hongwen nodded slightly. Most of the martyrs' families have elderly and children at home, and they rely on their relatives in the fleet for support. How can 200,000 credit points guarantee their future? "Captain, you're overthinking it," Li Enho disagreed. 200,000 is actually quite a bit. It's enough to feed and clothe an average family of 4 for at least 10 years. Those children, when they grow up, will need education, Yi Hongwen pointed out calmly. "Study? Isn't tuition free?" Liu Yifei raised his voice in surprise. "Boss, have you forgotten that you've never paid tuition since you were a child?" When Zixi facepalmed. How could he have such an idiotic friend? It's true that there's no tuition, but don't there still have to be exorbitant fees? Otherwise, how could those schools survive? I told you to appreciate the hardships your family endures, but you never respond. Do you think you can eat, drink, poop, and sleep for free at school? GK curled his lips in disdain. This idiot is truly clueless. Liu Yifei rubbed the back of his head, surprised. I know I have to pay tuition, but I don't know how much. My old man said it's quite cheap, more cost-effective than keeping it at home. GK gave him a sanitary ball. That's because you're such a spendthrift. You need someone to look after you. For poor people like us, Tuition is a considerable sum, really? Let me check the exact amount. How could I remember so much? Just use the communicator to find out. Before they knew it, the conversation between Liu Yifei and GK had strayed from the topic. Yi Hongwen's dark eyes grew darker, staring at Liu Yifei intently. His gaze was so piercing it made him break out in a cold sweat. Finally, Liu Yifei lost his temper and apologized bluntly. Sorry, boss. I tend to get too serious. When I hear something unbelievable, I like to ask questions. If you want the answer, just fight yourself. Do you think you only know how to fight with your bare hands? Yi Hongwen asked. His question was spot on. As a thriving young man, he would always consciously avoid such situations to avoid major losses. The fleet members were in a bad mood and always wanted to vent their anger, so as not to be immersed in the atmosphere of their teammate's death. The issue of the pension was a good opportunity to make a fuss. If we give too little, the families will be upset. If we give too much, we will have to pay more credit points. This is really difficult. GK rested her hands on her chin, seriously considering the possibility of asking the military to increase the pension. The answer was still no. The military is a place that values fairness, and they can't just change the pension amount by signing a joint letter. What's so difficult about that? Liu Yifei said with a disdainful curl of his lips. If the military won't increase it, we can increase it ourselves. At most, the brothers will have to eat less meat. Money is a bastard. We can earn it again after spending it. Liu Yifei didn't care about the cost of a meal, and he believed that his teammates in the fleet wouldn't care either. The people sitting around the conference table were stunned. After a long time, someone let out more breath and grinned at Liu Yifei, saying, "All right, idiot, you can actually say such profound words. I'll listen to you. Let's save some money and give more pensions to the families of martyrs." The speaker was Luo Cheng. After expressing his opinion, he directly issued an order to the team member who was temporarily managing the kitchen at the base. "Let's have noodles for lunch. No meat, just add a few vegetables." Liu Yifei glared. He was just saying that. Was Luo Cheng really that dedicated? Eating vegetarian noodles directly wouldn't save much money on meat. Luo Cheng, however, argued, if you can't save one meal, then 2, or 3, or 4. For the sake of your deceased comrades, it's no big deal to eat less meat for a few meals, unless you are doing it out of respect for the deceased. Now that it was said, who would dare to object? They could only accept the fact that they would soon be eating vegetarian food, not knowing whether they would have the energy to train if they didn't eat meat for a few days. Since the fleet had decided to increase the pension, they needed to negotiate the specific amount. After another heated discussion, they ultimately decided that the fleet would increase the amount by 50,000 credit points per household. "Let's consider it a token of our appreciation," Yi Hongwen decided. Chapter 770 The prodigal son returns and the girl flies away. After discussing the compensation and arranging the memorial service 3 days later, Yi Hongwen and the 3 vice captains reviewed the list of fallen crew members, confirming that all the martyrs' families had been picked up by their crew members. "It's already past 9. Boss, you haven't been back to see the cook yet today. Be careful you won't be able to get into your room later," Li Enho joked. "If you can't get in, then don't go back," Luo Cheng urged maliciously. "The cook is 5 months pregnant anyway. There's no benefits to going back. Might as well just go back to the dormitory." Yi Hongwen glared at Luo Cheng coldly. "Those who haven't been married are inexperienced. Who says pregnancy doesn't have benefits? He'd experienced it last night. If you can't speak human language, don't speak it, or people will think you grew up on a primitive planet," Captain Yi sternly lectured his capable subordinate. "If you keep up this, you won't be able to find a wife." Luo Cheng's eyes widened. How could the boss talk like that? He was so handsome and had such a promising future. How could he not find a wife? To prove that finding a wife was easy, Luo Cheng brought up his admirer. "The cook's friend and classmate has confessed to me. If I just ask, I'll have a wife." Yi Hongwen raised an eyebrow. Friend and classmate? Was that the one he had in mind? Li Enho's expression also grew strange. He seemed to know who had confessed to Brother Luo, but unfortunately, she was rejected. Fortunately, the girl was cheerful and generous, and didn't take the rejection too seriously, simply giving up. "Well, Brother Luo," Li Enho looked at him sympathetically. "You didn't go to the front lines, so there are some things you might not know. The girl you rejected is taken?" With a thud, Luo Cheng dropped the cup he was holding to the ground. He stared at Li Enho in disbelief. What do you mean taken? Yunyan found a boyfriend? You must be mistaken. When I was at the front, she confessed to me. Li Enho shook his head regretfully. Another scumbag who didn't cherish a beautiful woman's confession, only to realize he had missed out on true love when she found someone else. Luo Cheng still didn't believe it. She just confessed to me. How could she fall in love with someone else so quickly? Is she the type who falls in love with everyone she meets? What nonsense. Yi Hongwen found it unpleasant to hear. This was his good brother, of course, but Yunyan was his wife's good sister. If his wife knew that he allowed his good brother to slander her good sister, she would definitely be furious. Besides, Luo Cheng had already rejected her, so why shouldn't he let her withdraw her friendship and move on? That's not what I meant, Luo Cheng said with a bitter face, trying to excuse himself righteously. I just think the love they say is too exaggerated. It's only been a few months, Song Changte, who had not participated in the gossip, suddenly said. It's been more than half a year. It had been half a year since Yunyan's confession was rejected. No matter how sad she was, it should have disappeared. It was normal for her to find another person who shared the same feelings with her. Luo Cheng, on the other hand, was resolute and decisive in his refusal. He should have been happy for someone to find a partner, so why was he being so jealous? It was truly disgraceful for them, men. Even Song Changte couldn't bear to watch. If my son were such a jerk, I'd just beat him to death. Cold sweat streamed down Luo Cheng's back. Fortunately, he didn't have a father who would sacrifice his own family for the sake of justice, otherwise he would have been beaten to death. Well, I was just joking. Of course I will bless Yunyan if she finds a good partner, Luo Cheng said, his heart breaking. The girl he loved had fallen in love with someone else, and he couldn't even express his sadness. He had to force a smile and wish her well. Although there were many girls who admired him, few had personalities that suited his taste. Yunyan was one of them, but he had reluctantly refused because he didn't want to enter the grave of marriage too early. After 6 months apart, seeing the young cook pregnant with twins, his heart warmed. He'd been considering trying to find Yunyan for a relationship with the intention of getting married once everyone else returned, but he was dealt a devastating blow. He felt truly heartbroken and had no one to vent to. That's ugly, Yi Hongwen glared at his good brother again, getting up to leave. You deserve no sympathy for what you've done, Li Enho smiled. That's right, boss. How could a brother behave like this? Luo Cheng's heart was shattered, and he couldn't even cling to her. He looked at Yi Hongwen with accusing eyes. We agreed to be brothers for life. Yi Hongwen turned around and scrutinized him for a long moment, then let out a sigh of relief. Brothers like you are so rare. I'm afraid I won't be lucky enough to have one, such an incurably foolish fellow. It would be terrible if he used the name of brotherhood to lead his son astray. Even though his son wasn't even born yet, he still had to take precautions. Captain, you're too kind, said Song Changte, a good-natured man who had just stood up for Yunyan and now came to Luo Cheng's rescue. After all, we've been brothers for over 10 or 20 years. If we draw a line with him, it'll probably chill the hearts of the brothers. Let's just let him go. Luo Cheng was overjoyed. Song Changte was indeed his big brother, so magnanimous. From now on, he wouldn't associate with that shameless old man Li Enhua, but would rather spend more time with brother Song. His wishful thinking was really going smoothly, but Song Changte wasn't speaking for him at all. After receiving Luo Cheng's moist, touched look, he almost vomited his leftover food. Don't get me wrong, Song Changte's face trembled as he tried to stop him from approaching. Stand right there, then, without further ado, he spilled his thoughts. A captain must be wise and powerful. Even if he sees through you, he can't just toss you aside. He needs to take things slow and steady. You, Luo Cheng, devastated, collapsed to the ground, exclaiming bitterly, heaven has failed me. Yi Hongwen squinted, feeling a slight headache. This guy was being so noisy. He might as well be back home with his wife instead of nagging him. Too lazy to say anything more, Captain Yi turned away again and resolutely left the captain's room. Song Changte followed with a faint smile. Once downstairs, Yi Hongwen asked calmly, is there something wrong, Lieutenant Song? Song Changte chuckled. Captain, why do you ask? If you have something, just say it. Yi Hongwen pursed his lips. Lieutenant Song usually walked with Lieutenant Li, so it would be strange if he didn't have something to say today. Okay, I know the captain is anxious to go back to be with his wife. Song Changte joked casually, And the next moment he changed the subject. Is it really not necessary to notify Ji Yuang's family about this? Will it cause trouble if his pension is donated directly to the orphanage? Yi Hongwen shook his head. No need to notify, he has no relatives, he seems to have an uncle, Song Changte said with some worry. I heard that he is not easy to get rid of, it would be difficult to deal with if he came to the memorial service to cause trouble. Those relatives of the martyrs who lost their loved ones don't know what kind of person Uncle Ji Yuang is. If they are incited to cause trouble, it will be difficult to deal with. The memorial service will be held at the base, and he can't get in, Yi Hongwen sneered. Besides, I'm afraid he won't come. If you dare to cause trouble, you will have to pay the price. Chapter 771 No Tears for Farewell. After reassuring Song Changte, Yi Hongwen wasted no time and strode towards the polygonal door. He feared returning any later would lead to some unpleasant surprise. Of course, the most he could get into was the bedroom door. He could still get into the guest room, after all, as he had access to his wife's apartment. After being delayed for half an hour by Luo Chang, he returned to the apartment at 10 o'clock. Upon entering, the living room was pitch black, and even the robot, Xiaojiao, was dormant in a corner. The picky Xiaojiao never charged its batteries, always using a power bank, claiming that charging was less convenient. Ren Xiaojiao had punished it by having it automatically sleep at 9 o'clock each night and automatically power back on at 6 o'clock in the morning, under the pretext of saving energy. But none of this concerned Captain Yi. He only glanced at Xiaojiao briefly before heading straight to the master bedroom. He had a bad feeling and turned the doorknob, only to find it locked from the inside. Yi Hongwen smiled wryly. Li Enho was truly a badass. The door was locked and he couldn't get in, so he could only touch the communicator and send a video to his wife to plead for him. He thought that his wife would reject him several times before the video was connected, but to his surprise, the video was connected after only a few rings. Lin Miaomiao, wearing a cute little floral nightgown, rubbed her eyes and asked, "It's so late, why are you still sending me a video? I came back to sleep and couldn't get in." Yi Hongwen coaxed softly, "Miaomiao, be good. I came back so late today because of something important. I didn't delay time at the base on purpose." As soon as the words came out, Captain Yi felt a little guilty. He was indeed busy at the beginning, but after he was done, he chatted with Luo Cheng and others for a long time and forgot to wait for his wife to come home. It was really wrong. "Come back." Lin Miaomiao stared blankly at his background board. It looked very familiar, as if he was in the living room of her apartment. She pondered the meaning of her man's words, and then she felt unwell. Did it brother say you were too busy to come back tonight? It turned out that Lin Xianhao, the captain of the armor team, had just returned to the fleet and had nothing to do. He went to the base to check in and came back for lunch. In the afternoon, he stayed with Ren Jiao, which made Lin Miaomiao feel very annoyed. Thinking of Yi Hongwen, who was so busy in the base that he didn't even have time to eat lunch, and seeing her elder brother who kept showing his courtesy to his sister-in-law, Lin Miaomiao felt unbalanced and scolded her elder brother with a crooked mouth. There are rooms available in the apartment with good sound insulation. If you want to be annoyed, go back to the room. Sitting in the living room will affect the appearance of the room. It must be condemned, strongly condemned. Lin Xianhao was upset at being inexplicably rebuked. He wasn't stupid, his younger sister's expression was clearly one of envy and resentment. As the eldest brother, he couldn't open his mouth to lash out at his younger sister. Besides, this was her territory. If he got too arrogant, he'd surely be thrown out. But if he remained silent, he'd be doing himself a disservice. Thinking of the reason for his younger sister's reprimand, Lin Xianhao suddenly had an idea. He feigned regret and told her, "My brother-in-law is so busy he's been eating supplements instead of meals, and he doesn't have time to come home to sleep." This only further grieved Lin Miaomiao. After dinner, she didn't bother with the couple cuddling on the sofa. She sullenly retreated to her room, locking the door behind her. Then, at 10 o'clock that evening, Captain Yi returned and couldn't get into the bedroom. Xianhao is truly restless. Yi Hongwen narrowed his eyes dangerously. He had to find something for his brother-in-law to do, lest he find work at home and become an eyesore to his wife. Lin Miaomiao nodded in agreement. Big brother's not good at home. He always likes to piss me off. There's a bed in the room, but he insists on showing off his affection in front of me. If she weren't pregnant, she would have definitely used her fists to tell Big Brother she was not to be trifled with. I see. I just happen to have some work I need help with, Yi Hongwen said, a suspicious glint in his eyes. That'll probably keep him busy for 2 or 3 days. After that, it would be right before the memorial service. Once that was over, the fleet would resume normal training, and he could take 2 months off, and his wife wouldn't have to be jealous of other people's displays of affection. After silently calculating everything, Captain Yi suddenly remembered something. Hey, wife, when are you going to open the door for me? Since she wasn't angry, she probably wouldn't refuse to open the door for him, Yi Hongwen thought. Lin Miaomiao obediently opened the door, never mentioning Yi Hongwen's deception and attempts to send her away. She simply pushed away his approaching lips and said, I haven't washed. It's dirty. Was he being disliked? Yi Hongwen was struck by lightning. You weren't like this before. The past is the past, and this is now. Lin Miaomiao looked at him with a look that said, don't be unreasonable. I wasn't pregnant before, but now that I have a baby, I have to be more careful. Her words made a lot of sense. Yi Hongwen was speechless and could only accept his fate. I'll go take a shower first. In less than 10 minutes, Yi Hongwen finished his shower. He walked out barefoot with his clothes on. When he got to the bed, he was stunned for the second time. His wife was sleeping soundly wrapped in the quilt. On the other empty side of the bed was a dark purple silk quilt. Miaomiao, what are you doing with 2 quilts? Yi Hongwen put the quilt into the space button, climbed onto the bed as if nothing had happened, and pulled Lin Miaomiao's quilt. It's warmer to cover yourself with one. It was okay at the front line, but now that he was back, of course he had to hold his wife and sleep together. Sharing the quilt was not a good idea. Lin Miaomiao clung to the blanket tightly. For the baby's safety, I think it's best if we sleep in separate beds. Or do you want to sleep in separate beds? Yi Hongwen suddenly understood. It wasn't that she wasn't angry, but she was waiting for him. Reluctantly, he wiped his face and whispered an apology. I know I was wrong, but I'm worried about your safety. The fleet lost over 200 men. I'm heartbroken, let alone you. Yi Hongwen was a man, with over a decade more military experience than Lin Miaomiao, and he'd experienced life and death himself, yet he couldn't help but feel sad. On the first day after the Shen Yu left Hope Star for home, he, Song Changte, and Lin Hu spent half an hour in the infirmary's freezer, examining everybody inside. Back in his room, he couldn't help but cry. Since graduating from military school and joining the fleet, Yi Hongwen had promised himself that he would never be weak or cry again. But seeing so many of his fellow soldiers die, he couldn't help but cry, hiding in his room. If even he couldn't bear it, how could Miaomiao bear it? Especially when she was pregnant. I feel sad, Lin Miaomiao said to Yi Hongwen, looking up, but I won't cry. They left and sacrificed themselves for the Federation. I won't see them off with tears. She paused for a few seconds and then said softly, they left gloriously. If they were still alive, they wouldn't want to see everyone cry for them. Yi Hongwen was stunned. Chapter 772 Kind Brother-in-Law. Lin Miaomiao's words shocked Yi Hongwen greatly. He had never expected that something he couldn't understand would be interpreted in this way by his wife. But after thinking about it carefully, he had to admit that it made sense. If it weren't for others, he himself had the same thought. If one day I die first, I hope you won't cry, bah, Lin Miaomiao replied bluntly. Thinking it in your heart is one thing, but saying it out loud is not very popular. Anyway, Lin Miaomiao just wanted to punch someone. Yi Hongwen smiled. His wife was truly a double-faced person. She didn't want anyone to say what she thought, but she couldn't continue the conversation. She painstakingly explained, I'm not talking about now, but when we're old. Lin Miaomiao's expression softened, and she grumbled in disdain. It's too early to worry about something so far in the future. Perhaps her mood had eased, as she took the initiative to loosen the quilt and said with a hint of arrogance, go to bed quickly. Don't forget you have to work tomorrow. If the memorial service doesn't go well, be careful that Dr. G will come after you. Such a strong and gluttonous person, how could they afford to neglect him? Okay, I'll definitely satisfy them. Yi Hongwen smiled again. After the war, he hadn't been in the mood to chat or laugh. He even felt it was inappropriate to see the fleet members laughing. But now he understood that remembrance didn't have to be expressed with tears, it could be expressed with laughter. Yi Hongwen easily slipped into his wife's bed, his mood lifted considerably after she comforted him. If Luo Cheng knew, he'd probably yell at him again for prioritizing women over friendship. He'd wasted so much time joking with the boss, just to make him laugh, and now he'd become a scumbag, yet he still hadn't seen the boss cheer up. It was clear that Luo Cheng was quite the failure as a person. Having successfully slipped into his wife's bed, Yi Hongwen had no sympathy for Luo Cheng, KIE Entertainment's boss. He was now trying to get his own benefits. It's better to hold her when you sleep. It's warmer together, and we don't have to worry about the baby getting cold. No, I think it's better for us to sleep separately, Lin Miaomiao replied casually. Then, fearing he'd overthink things, she added, my belly is so big. It's hard to turn over when you hold me. That was how it had been last night. He held her, afraid to turn over easily. She slept cautiously the entire night, even going to the bathroom twice and twice, lest it disturb his rest. It was for this reason that Lin Miaomiao decided to sleep in separate beds. Unfortunately, the cold Captain Yi, unaware of the situation, refused to give up the privilege of cuddling his wife. Lin Miaomiao's frustration wore thin and she finally explained the reason. Yi Hongwen then realized that his wife wasn't angry, but rather felt he was in the way. With no other choice, he compromised, saying, I won't cuddle you to sleep, and we won't sleep in separate beds in the future. This was perfectly acceptable, and Lin Miaomiao readily agreed. Before falling asleep, she emphasized, Big brother is going too far. You must keep him busy. This seemed a bit unfair to her sister-in-law, but the thought of her and her brother displaying affection in front of her, completely ignoring her loneliness, hardened Lin Miaomiao's heart. It was getting late, and Lin Miaomiao soon fell into a sweet dream. Not wanting to miss her brother being taken away for hard labor, Lin Miaomiao set the alarm for 6 in the morning. By the time the alarm went off, Yi Hongwen had already washed and was ready to go. Although normal training had not resumed, the daily morning run was still maintained. Except for those on leave, all members of the fleet had to participate, including medical staff and technical personnel. As the captain, Yi Hongwen also had to show up from time to time to inspect the work. Lin Miaomiao was too lazy to change out of her nightgown. She just threw on a coat and fluffy slippers and followed him out. When she arrived in the living room, she saw Aunt Liu had brought breakfast and placed it on the dining table. Good morning, Captain Yi. Good morning, Miaomiao, Aunt Liu greeted with a smile. Have some breakfast before you go out. The latter sentence was obviously directed at Yi Hongwen. Lin Miaomiao was still sleepy in her pajamas, and it was obvious that she had not washed up before going out. Good morning, Aunt Liu, Lin Miaomiao yawned, put her hands on her hips, and asked, holding her stomach, have you prepared breakfast so early? Yi Hongwen did not say anything, but just nodded casually at Aunt Liu, just as a greeting. I got up early in the morning, and there was nothing to do in bed, so I got up early. Aunt Liu smiled and put 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks on the dining table. Lin Miaomiao waved her hand, and was about to say that she had no appetite for breakfast yet, when Lin Xianhao rushed out like a whirlwind with a messy hair, and stopped suddenly at the dining table, sat down and started to eat breakfast as a matter of course. Well, the breakfast made by Aunt Liu is still more delicious, Lin Xianhao sighed as he ate. The food at the base is simply inedible, and we have to wait in line for so long to eat it. If it tastes good, eat more. Aunt Liu smiled with satisfaction. After eating, you will have more energy to go for a morning run. Lin Miaomiao understood, and she said that Aunt Liu had never made breakfast so early before, and it seemed that she was fooled by her eldest brother. Seeing her eldest brother eating happily, Lin Miaomiao was extremely upset. The person who did something bad had no guilt at all. He must think that she was easy to bully. A certain cook, in a bad mood, grumbled and scratched her eldest brother's handsome face. However, the man's skin was so thick that the scratch didn't even leave a mark, let alone bleed. Little sister, Lin Xianhao was shocked. His usually well-behaved sister had actually attacked his handsome face. It was a bolt from the blue. He couldn't fight back, so he could only ask resentfully, did I offend you? Lin Miaomiao sneered, raised her chin and gestured in Yi Hongwen's direction. Brother, you seem to have forgotten what you said last night. Lin Xianhao was stunned. He looked at his brother-in-law with a dazed look, then remembered what he had said the night before, and suddenly his whole body was unwell. He had told his sister last night that Yi Hongwen wouldn't be coming back, and sure enough, his sister went straight back to bed after dinner. He even checked, and the door was locked from the inside. According to Lin Xianhao's calculations, his sister would be angry that her brother-in-law didn't come back, so she would definitely lock the door. Yi Hongwen was indeed very busy and would not be back until at least after 10 o'clock. By then, It would be late at night. In order not to disturb his sister's rest, he would not knock even if he found the door locked. In that way, Lin Xianhao successfully tricked his sister without being exposed. It was really a good way to trick his sister. But what happened now? His little trick was exposed. Brother-in-law, Lin Xianhao abandoned the usual address and played the emotional card. I thought you were too busy to come back yesterday. Seeing that my sister had been waiting all day, I was worried that she would still be waiting in vain at night, so I told her little white lie. Don't mind it. Well, it was obviously not a good intention, but in the blink of an eye, it became a well-intentioned one. Such means are really amazing. His brother-in-law was so kind, Yi Hongwen didn't want to let him down, so he nodded expressionlessly. Thank you, brother. Since you care so much about Miaomiao, please help me do something today. Lin Xianhao's face was disheveled in the wind. Chapter 773, Exposing the Past. Lin Xianhao had set a trap for his sister, portraying himself as a kind-hearted person. Then, he was dragged away by his icy brother-in-law to help. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to come home for lunch or dinner. After a day of displaying affection, they returned to their old ways the next day. Ren Jiaojiao was distressed and could only continue to stay with her sister-in-law to care for her pregnancy. This busy schedule lasted all the way to the day of the collective memorial service. The two men ate breakfast as usual and hurried out, instructing the two pregnant women before leaving, stay home and be quiet. We'll let you know when the ceremony is about to begin. Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojiao nodded in agreement. A little self-indulgence was fine on ordinary days, but not on a situation like today. After the two men left, the two pregnant women didn't just sit there waiting, but instead started to fuss over clothes. It was cold outside, and they needed to dress warmly for their unborn children. After Liang Hongyu arrived to care for the pregnant woman, Lin Miaomiao gave her a generous monthly allowance, more than Lin Yuhei's salary gave Aunt Liu. Unable to refuse, Grandma Liang used the money to buy the two pregnant women everything from nutritional supplements to maternity clothes. A memorial service is a solemn occasion, and attire is important. As soldiers, they should have passed on uniforms to the team members, but how could a pregnant woman with a large belly fit into a uniform? Lin Miaomiao had to settle for a cute black winter outfit, a high-waisted, wide flared-down jacket and low-waisted, tight-fitting crop pants. To stay warm, she also dug out some lightweight thermal underwear. After sorting through the clothes, she found a thick, fleece-lined black wool hat and a pair of black leather knee-high boots. After gathering her belongings, she didn't rush to get dressed. The house was always heated, and wearing too many layers would be too hot. She could just change into them when she went out. The wait for news was excruciating. Lin Miaomiao couldn't sit still in her bedroom, so she went to her sister-in-law's room to check out her outfit. She discovered that hers was essentially identical to hers. They were both black, the same style of dress, the same pants, and the same knee-high boots. The only difference was the hat. Ren Jiaojiao's hat was flat, while Lin Miaomiao's was triangular with a cute ball of yarn. Sister-in-law, since we have the same clothes and shoes, why don't we wear the same hat too? Lin Miaomiao suggested with a sullen face. Their builds were similar, even their heights weren't too different. Liang Hongyu simply bought them 2 sets of clothes, so their clothes, shoes, and hats all had similar styles. Lin Miaomiao had never had sisters since childhood, and neither in her past life nor in this one, she had no experience of wearing sisterly outfits. She wasn't opposed to wearing the same outfit as Ren Jiaojiao. Ren Jiaojiao didn't think it was a problem, and nodded readily. Okay, she immediately returned the hat from the bed to its original place and dug out a matching hat. The memorial service was scheduled to officially begin at 10 a.m. At 9:30 a.m., Lin Xianhao sent a text message to his wife and sister, instructing them to arrive at the polygonal gate of the base by 9:45 a.m. After that, none of the gates would open. The sister-in-law and her husband, who had been sitting in the living room, drinking water and eating snacks, hurried back to their rooms and began to change as quickly as possible. As they were about to leave, Liang Hongyu and Aunt Liu stood up from the sofa and said, "We'll take you to the base." With her belly so large, they felt a little uneasy about letting them go out. "No thanks," Ren Jiaojiao declined. "It's not that far, why bother you?" Aunt Liu fretted. "How can you call it a bother? I get paid, so it's my job to take care of you. I get pocket money too," Liang Hongyu said with a smile. "Besides, it's boring to stay at home all day." We might as well go out for a walk. Both of them had changed into their going-out clothes, and their words were firm. Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojiao exchanged a glance and reluctantly agreed. A walk would be nice. They went downstairs and got in a taxi. In a few minutes, they arrived at the polygonal gate of the station. It was closed, so Lin Miaomiao got out and rang the doorbell. Aunt Liu and Liang Hongyu also got out. Surprise flashed in Aunt Liu's eyes at the strange door. She had lived there for several months, but she had never been near Chen Yu's station, and she had no idea the doors here looked like this. Isn't this door strange? Liang Hongyu understood why Aunt Liu found it strange. It's quite strange, Aunt Liu said without denying it. I can't even tell what shape it is. There are long and short ones on the door side. It looks ugly. Aunt Liu is a straightforward person and speaks very directly. If she thinks it's ugly, she doesn't embellish it and just says it bluntly. Haha, Liang Hongyu found it funny when she thought of what her grandson had told her before, so she glanced at Lin Miaomiao who was waiting for the machine security to verify her identity by the door. This door was specially opened by the captain to prevent his wife from climbing over the wall. Aunt Liu followed Liang Hongyu's line of sight and suddenly realized, so that's how it is, but a robot wouldn't open a door like this, right? It was opened manually, Liang Hongyu said meaningfully. The captain's brothers all support the boss's pursuit of her wife. If there was a hole in the ground nearby, Lin Miaomiao wanted to crawl into it directly. She couldn't refute it, so she could only let the villain in her heart keep protesting. That's obviously not the case. Those people were punished. After automatically repeating punished dozens of times, the machine security finally finished the inspection. Lin Miaomiao, with a wooden face, pulled her sister-in-law, whose face was a little distorted, into the base. Grandma Liang, Aunt Liu, you guys should go back quickly. It's cold outside. Originally mourning the loss of hundreds of her teammates, Ren Jiaojiao lost her composure when she heard about her sister-in-law's past embarrassments. Her face twisted beyond recognition. Only after being dragged into the base did she manage a deadpan expression, a look reminiscent of her sister-in-law's expressionless face. Miaomiao, Grandma Liang's explanation just now doesn't seem right. Ren Jiaojiao feigned righteous indignation, defending her sister-in-law. Back then, it was you who ignored the captain. He tried to make peace with you, and everyone saw him, so the captain punished him. Stop talking, Lin Miaomiao interrupted her decisively. I wasn't ignoring him. I was drawing a line between us. Ren Jiaojiao blinked. Is there any difference between ignoring and drawing a line between us? No difference? A huge difference. But Lin Miaomiao didn't know what to say when asked to explain. After hesitating for a few seconds, she decided not to explain. Now is not the time to gossip. Don't forget what we are here for today. He looked at Ren Jiaojiao with a serious face. We have to speed up. Don't wait until the ceremony starts before we arrive. Ren Jiaojiao wilted. I really hate participating in such ceremonies. It makes me want to cry. Do you think I want to participate? Lin Miaomiao pouted and couldn't help patting her big belly. It's really a bit of a hindrance. She couldn't even run to the venue. Chapter 774 Memorial Service. The venue for the memorial service had been arranged long ago. It was located on the large playground at the junction of the interior and exterior of the garrison, and it was rarely used. As Lin Miaomiao said, their big bellies were a hindrance, so they didn't dare to walk too fast. The two pregnant women rushed to the venue at 5 minutes past 10. They were still a little late for the event, which officially started at 10 o'clock. It's all your brother's fault. He knew we couldn't walk fast, but he still informed us so late. Ren Jiaojiao unkindly put the blame on Lin Xianhao. Lin Miaomiao wanted to nod, but she was still thinking about the 4 words brotherly love. She carefully said something nice to her brother. Brother has been so busy these days that he might have forgotten that it's not convenient for us. It would have been better if she hadn't said this. Once she said this, Ren Jiaojiao became even more angry. We suffer every day, and he doesn't know how to understand. He is simply the epitome of a scumbag. Lin Xianhao was really wrong to be labeled a scumbag just because a girl said something nice for him. Lin Miaomiao, the culprit, felt a little guilty. She glanced around, relieved to see no one was around. The cook was a kind, icy beauty and a gifted mecha pilot. Her reputation couldn't be ruined by a single word. Of course, the lack of people wasn't because she was lucky, but rather because everyone was supposed to be at the memorial service. This made Lin Miaomiao feel guilty. Her teammates had died, and they were late to see them off. This wasn't the behavior of a good teammate. Even though she made excuses, the guilt still clung to her. Ren Jiaojio, being the older sister, noticed the deep guilt in her sister-in-law's eyes and softly soothed her, "Don't be upset. They've always been very tolerant and understand our situation. They won't pick on us, I know," Lin Miaomiao replied softly. There were many ulterior motives in the fleet, but generally speaking, they were all good people. Even if they were a little shady in private, they were united on missions and in the battlefield. There were very few eccentric individuals. The large playground loomed before them, but the two sisters-in-law walked slower and slower, each step feeling like an effort. Yet, they made no effort to stop for a rest. "We're here," Ren Jiaojio muttered, gazing at the sea of flowers before them. Lin Miaomiao remained silent. No matter how many flowers there were, they weren't paying attention. The focus was on the figures covered in white sheets lying among them. A 5-foot-wide metal bed rested on a stone platform, covered with large, white daisies. The fallen soldiers lay quietly on the flower bed, their white sheets covering their feet, revealing only their closed-eyed faces. 237 team members had perished, yet only 193 stone platforms remained. These were the remains of all the martyrs whose bodies had been recovered, aside from Ji Yuang. Some of the stone platforms didn't even hold bodies, but urns. The mechas had been shattered by the explosion, and the few bones they managed to recover dared not place them directly on the beds. Instead, they were burned to ashes in the incinerator and placed in black urns, their portraits neatly placed above them. Doing so was not only out of fear of frightening the families of the martyrs who came to attend the ceremony, but also out of fear of upsetting the relatives of the deceased. How painful it would be to see that their family members could not even find a complete body. The ceremony had just begun, and the members of Shen Yu were standing in line facing the stone platform, their faces full of solemn expressions. At this moment, no one had a smile on their face. Ye Hongwen and the 3 deputy captains stood in the middle of the first row of stone platforms. They did not give long speeches praising the achievements of the martyrs, but simply took the lead in bowing 9 times in the direction of the stone platform. The families of the martyrs supported each other and stood on both sides. They had no intention of looking at the soldiers bowing, but only stretched their necks with red eyes to see where their relatives were. Tears blurred their vision, but they wiped them away and ignored them. Wu Renjiao covered her mouth and cried. She sobbed, "They are so bad, so cruel, their families are so sad, their teammates are so painful, but they still lie there with their eyes closed and don't move." Lin Miaomiao pulled the corner of her mouth. She wanted to say, "If they move, I'm afraid it will scare people," but she couldn't say it, and such a cold joke couldn't cover up the pain in her heart. Although she promised not to cry when she said goodbye, Lin Miaomiao's tears still flowed, and she couldn't wipe them away no matter how hard she tried. "I broke my promise again," Lin Miaomiao said with a tremor at the end of her voice. She didn't know who she was talking to, maybe her sister-in-law next to her, or maybe the teammates lying there. Ren Jiaojio turned her head with tears in her eyes and glanced at her sister-in-law, and asked unclearly, "What are you talking about?" The voice was a little low, and Ren Jiaojio was in pain, so she couldn't hear clearly even if she was standing next to her. "Nothing," Lin Miaomiao shook her head, unwilling to explain. "I was just thinking we should get closer." They reached the edge of the large playground and faltered, still a long way from the crowd and the stone platform. "Yes, we should go and bow to them too," Ren Jiaojio agreed, taking her sister-in-law's hand and continuing on. Bowing to each stone platform individually wouldn't be possible for them in their current state, but a collective bow would be fine. It was a token of their appreciation. But before they could make a move, chaos ensued ahead. Several elderly people over 100 years old had fainted from crying so hard. Robot nurses rushed into the crowd carrying stretchers, placing the unconscious on them and carrying them to several large tents not far from the stone platform. Military doctors immediately left the line and sprinted back to the tents. "I hope they were okay," Lin Miaomiao said, looking over worriedly. They didn't understand the pain of seeing someone younger die, but they also understood the unspeakable pain. Many elderly people couldn't bear it and chose to go along with them. "It's okay," Ren Jiaojio whispered soothingly, clutching her sister-in-law's arm. "Our military doctors are so skilled, they'll definitely get away with it." Only she knew how hollow those words were. When a cherished younger generation passes away, some elderly, left without other ties, lose the drive to live. No one can guarantee they can all be saved. We shouldn't have brought them here. Lin Miaomiao clenched her fists. Sadness is contagious. They're old, and hearing the news of a younger generation's death is heartbreaking enough. In a situation like this, that sadness is magnified to the extreme. Ren Jiaojiao agreed. They refused to stay home and insisted on coming to pick them up. Yi Hongwen's cold voice suddenly boomed from behind, his words dripping with unmistakable weariness. Lin Miaomiao anxiously turned to look back, but nearly lost her footing. Fortunately, Yi Hongwen offered a steady hand. Be careful, Yi Hongwen scolded. You're so reckless even though your belly is so big, aren't you here? Lin Miaomiao said nonchalantly. Her eyes fell on his right hand that was supporting her, and she frowned immediately. What's wrong with your hand? Who grabbed it? There were 4 obvious scratches on the back of Yi Hongwen's right hand, 3 of which were clearly visible, and only 1 was faint. Chapter 775 Memorial Service. Yi Hongwen's face turned a little unnatural when his wife saw the scars on his hands. This was when he was leading the team to visit the families and was scratched by an overly emotional military wife. Because he was too busy, he hadn't found a chance to use a small therapeutic device to remove the scratches. It's not good to tell the truth, as it might be a discredit to the military wife. After all, it's normal for her husband to be a little emotional after his death. He can't do this to everyone without taking out his anger on their husband's boss. He was the one who took the person out, but he couldn't even bring back the body. How could he have the face to blame others for not understanding their mission? Yi Hongwen pursed his lips in self-deprecation, loosened his grip on his wife's right hand, and supported her with his left hand, saying, I'm fine, I accidentally scratched myself. Lin Miaomiao was speechless. Such obvious scratches were said to be scratches. Did he think she was stupid? But Yi Hongwen clearly didn't want to discuss it further, and she couldn't press the issue. She could only sigh helplessly. Why are you here? The opening ceremony isn't over yet, is it? No, Yi Hongwen said gravely, repeating, not yet. He simply didn't want to continue. He felt this opening ceremony was redundant. A simple bow would have been enough. Why bother with a pretentious recitation of those same old eulogies? They were all plagiarized from old eulogies, completely failing to capture their grief. It would have been better to say goodbye to them one by one. While several elderly people fainted from their tears, the scene erupted in chaos. Yi Hongwen decisively ended the recitation, directed everyone to maintain order, and helped the families line up for the next stage of the funeral ceremony. As the 3 lieutenants busied themselves maintaining order, Yi Hongwen spotted Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojiao approaching from outside the crowd and hurried over to intercept them. You guys go over later, Yi Hongwen said, fearing the chaos over there and the women, with their large bellies, might get into danger if they leaned in. After the family members enter the stone platform area, it's the technician's turn. You follow behind them. He felt more at ease by staying in the middle, safe from being knocked down by the excited family members. Lin Miaomiao understood that now was not the time to be pushy and nodded obediently. I know. I'll go later. Yi Hongwen looked at Ren Jiaojiao again, and only after receiving her clear consent did he lead them around the family members and line up directly behind the technicians. Everyone was heartbroken, and few cared about the 2 extra people ahead. Only the teammates on either side whispered greetings to them. There were 237 team members, but even more family members. Lin Miaomiao took a quick look and estimated that there were over 1,000 of them, mostly parents, wives, and children. There were very few centenarians. Centenarians were in decline, and their families wouldn't dare bring them out easily. The ones who had fainted earlier were special cases. They were either dependent on their grandchildren or had family conflicts. The line ahead was neither long nor short. Lin Miaomiao followed her teammates, slowly moving forward. The short 200 meters to the stone platform took her a full half-hour to complete. At the first stone platform in the first row, 2 black robots were distributing items. Each person in the line received a black gauze and a bulging small bag. The first robot would wrap the gauze around the person's right arm, while the second robot would hand over the bag. After the gauze was wrapped, Lin Miaomiao took the bag and looked inside. Inside, she saw a large number of small white flowers, folded from paper. The robot didn't explain what the flowers were for, but the gestures of the person in front of her made it clear what they were. Lin Miaomiao took one and placed it on the remains of the martyr on the stone platform, whispering, "Rest in peace, even in winter." After circling 193 stone platforms, Lin Miaomiao's forehead was already covered with sweat. Ren Jiaojio, who was following behind her, was not much better. After wiping the sweat off her face with a napkin, Lin Miaomiao looked around and found that Ye Hongwen was at the end of the farewell team. There were still 2,000 or 3,000 team members in front of him. It would take quite a while for his turn to come. So she turned around and looked at her teammates who were performing the farewell ceremony. In fact, the actions of the Shenyu team members were not much different from Lin Miaomiao's. Every time they arrived at a stone platform, they would put down a paper flower and say a goodbye. The only difference was that they would bow before leaving the stone platform. Because they were far away, Lin Miaomiao couldn't hear what they said clearly, but she thought it was similar to what she said. Just as she was watching intently, Ren Jiaojio tugged at the hem of her down jacket and said worriedly, "They all bowed." Lin Miaomiao knew what she was worried about. They should have bowed, but they were too concerned about their bodies to move. Her sister-in-law was worried that others would have opinions. But given their situation, with such large bellies, it was impossible for them to bow to each one individually. Even the martyrs' families wouldn't argue, so they whispered, "Don't worry, sister-in-law. No one will say anything." Ren Jiaojio's remark was merely a passing remark, and she quickly changed her focus. "Let's go check on the tents. Those elderly people should be alright." When the chaos began, Ren Jiaojio had noticed that 1 or 2 elderly people were left unattended. While there were robot nurses in the tents, artificial intelligence lacked emotion and wasn't capable of comforting them. The other teammates couldn't move around freely, but Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojio were fine. It would be nice to check on the elderly. Glancing at Ye Hongwen again, knowing he wouldn't be free for a while, she decisively followed her sister-in-law to the tents. By then, only a few grief-stricken elderly people lay in single beds in the tents. Several robot nurses stood in the center, on standby, rushing to provide emergency care if an elderly person fainted from crying. The military doctors weren't there, they were probably still in the farewell procession. Lin Miaomiao had no experience in comforting people. Seeing them weeping so miserably, tears threatened to well up again. Ren Jiaojio, sensing the situation, slapped her back and said fiercely, "I asked you to come and see the old man, not to cry with him." "I didn't mean to," Lin Miaomiao protested with a stone face. The tears just flowed on their own. "It's none of my business." Ren Jiaojio rolled her eyes at her sister-in-law, dismissing her quibbling. "Do you think I'm stupid?" Lin Miaomiao pouted. She really had no quibbling. It wasn't her fault if her tears just wouldn't flow, was it? Besides, her sister-in-law's eyes were already welling with tears, refusing to fall, which was even more heartbreaking to watch. It's better to just let them flow and wipe them clean. "They'll soon be gone," Lin Miaomiao muttered softly. "What are you talking about?" Ren Jiaojio's ears were sharp. Lin Miaomiao denied without hesitation, "Nothing. I was just thinking about getting them some hot water." Crying for too long drained a body of fluids, which was very uncomfortable. Ren Jiaojio glanced at her sister-in-law suspiciously, and after making sure she didn't find any flaws, she nodded. "There seems to be purified water in the corner. I wonder if it's hot. Let's go and take a look and find out." Lin Miaomiao volunteered to go and pour the water. "Sister-in-law, go and persuade them first. I'll go get the water." End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.